It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey and Jeff are here. Ann has the week off. There is lots to talk about, including the Sonos update that's making me so angry. I'm not alone on this one. The moral framework of journalism. Should Glenn Greenwald go to jail in Brazil? The state of New Jersey has a Twitter account. Hey, I'm tweeting here. And a whole lot more. This Week in Google is next. This Week in Google comes to you from the Twit LastPass studios. Securing every access point in your company doesn't have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 543, recorded Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. Back to Mainz. This Week in Google is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost, because everything is online. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan. Plus, you'll get the plan shipped to your door for free at mintmobile.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we cover the Googleverse. Facebook, Twitter, Google. Jeff Jarvis is here, not in Davos. Jeff Jarvis is here. Usually we, in years past, we've done this from like the cafeteria in the middle of the night in Switzerland.
The newsroom there. Yeah, but no, I'm on the need not to go list.
No, that's
I pissed off somebody.
Yeah, well, you know what? I bet you that's not a bad thing. It's
actually not.
These days, maybe a little bit of an embarrassment.
It is. There's 100 billionaires there.
Yeah.
The last time I went,
Greta Thunberg went too. So
she was staring down at Trump. There's a great picture somebody put up on Twitter right behind her of her just looking at Trump, and you can imagine the evil eye that she properly gave him.
Yeah, because he called her a spoiled little girl. Could just stay home and watch movies with your friends.
Yes. But the word is all of Davos loves Trump this year.
Yeah,
the stock market's good, and they think he's just fine.
Billionaires love the president. Jeff is the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Blogger of Buzz Machine, author of What Would Google Do? Public Parts, There it is, and a lot of other wonderful things. Stacey Higginbotham is also here, the Queen of Iot, Stacey on IoT.com, at GigaStacey. Would it be better to call you the King of IoT?
No, I accept the queen of any. Okay. I've been the queen of the cloud, the queen of something weird.
I don't mean that in a diminutive way. I just...
Oh, of course not. Queens are very powerful in their own right.
Just look at Elizabeth.
We have the longest reigning queen in the history of Great Britain on the throne as we speak.
Perhaps the world.
Perhaps.
We don't know.
No one knows because records haven't been kept since 1875.
I just finished two books. One about the life of Charles V and one about Philip II.
Charles V is the one they named the Spaniels after, I believe.
Yes, I guess so. They would have.
That's all I know about him. He liked Spaniels. That's it.
It's the Holy Roman
but
Emperor.
Elizabeth doesn't get a corgi named after her?
She should.
She should.
Really, have Queen Elizabeth corgis. I think she should. She's definitely.
She did a lot for the breed.
She's done so much for corgis.
And and the most poignant thing is that she decided to stop having them because she knew that she was going to leave them and didn't want to do that.
Oh, I didn't know that. So no new corgis.
No new corgis.
Oh. No. Are there any corgis dogs left?
Yeah, I think so.
Too old for
no
new
new
dogs.
ones.
She hasn't outlived them yet.
No, there are no corgis left. There are only 2 dorkies.
Oh, what? Dorkies?
There are dorkies, dachshund, and corgis.
Oh, that's not a good mix. If you could make corgis' legs shorter, would you really?
They're cute.
Alphabet is now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the newest member of the Quattro Comma Club. A trillionaire. $1 trillion. So Apple did it, Microsoft did it, now Alphabet's done it. That's a silly number.
It is. It is. But it is amazing. You know, from what was going to be a pizza delivery service in a dorm room.
Was it? Wait a minute.
What?
Yeah.
What?
That was their first idea. Their first idea, Larry and Sergey, was to do a pizza service.
Well, I guess I'm sad that they didn't.
Yes.
It would have been the best.
It would have been a great
ever
pizza service. Yes.
Wow. Actually, Punter
Fourth
Joe's
company.
explaining that Dorgies, that is Dachshund Corgi mixes, are, think of it as a stretch Corgi, the showy limos of dogs.
Oh, I like that.
So Amazon hit $1 trillion before.
Oh, Amazon
Google.
did it
I
too.
forget that.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget
All
that.
of the companies that Elizabeth Warren wants to break up. It's a shorthand way of referring to it.
Anti-success, anti-capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Though I'm still now she's my candidate, but yeah, I disagree with her there.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. I feel like, there was this congressional hearing in Boulder, Colorado, where they ganged up. Did we talk about that, or was that on Twit? I don't think we talked about it on this show yet. But they ganged up on Google, Amazon. David Hannemeyer Hansen said the most unlikely thing ever. Help us, Congress. You're our only hope. They got the guy who invented pop sockets to come in and said, it's just hard to do business on Amazon. We tried to get off Amazon, but it cost us $10 million. So it's so hard for us to be on Amazon. Which it sounds like Amazon made him $10 million, but that he's not happy about it.
Yeah.
The complaints from Tile, which makes one of those little Bluetooth trackers. Apple had the temerity to put Find My iPhone in the iPhone instead of saying, well, you can get Tile, just glue a tile to the back of your phone.
Actually, the iPhone doesn't allow devices close access to the radio.
Right.
On the phone. So that
Tile works with an iPhone, though.
It does. I'm just saying that there's a little bit more subtlety to this complaint, but keep going.
Well, yes. The thing about the complaint is, and this is historically been always the people complain about Windows in the day that they had secret routines that only Microsoft could use on their apps, and this was true. But Apple has an even better excuse than Microsoft does, which is we want to lock up the radios. We want to isolate apps from one another. We want to lock our phone down because it's better for security. Yeah, sure. On Android, any app can access these radios. And that's, that Apple says, and I think with some justification, a security flaw.
And it has caused Android problems.
Yeah.
So it's not crazy.
So, but anyway, these were, it reminded me, and I even attempted to pronounce Leistungsschutzrecht.
Leistungsschutzrecht. There's a new version coming.
Well, this is what it reminded me of all of the publishers in Germany going to the EU saying, oh, this Google, they're competing against us. Please do something. It feels like that these companies, the headline in the Post, companies burned by big tech plead for Congress to regulate Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google. But it's not completely clear to me that these companies are stomping.
God didn't give those companies the revenue they had. They lost it. Better competitors came along. This happens.
Sonos is suing Google, saying they copied their, multi-room play
Well,
speakers.
speaking of being pissed at companies, is your Sonos
Are we going to
stuff
that
gonna
already?
Yeah, I'm a little.
Is your Sonos stuff going to be
No, because in
obsolete?
order, but I think what they did is wrong. So the way it worked is they offered a 30% off to upgrade my existing Sonos to the new Sonos with new capabilities. If you accepted that, they then pushed an update down to the Sonos that bricked these speakers. It made them, you couldn't even use them as external speakers. You couldn't, but they said, well, we don't want to see all these.
I've never liked this company.
I know, that's not
never
nice.
liked this company. They've always been overpriced. They've always been selling, air. I know you guys liked them all along, but I never took you on it, but I resisted them. I just didn't like them.
Well, now you don't need them anymore because their secret sauce, whether it was stolen or copied or reinvented, has now propagated to the rest of the world. Their whole thing was they were the only system, because they had a proprietary wireless network, that you could have speakers in every room and they would all be playing and there wouldn't be out of sync. There wouldn't be this weird echoey thing. It would sound like one giant house speaker system, which was awesome. Really awesome. And nobody had done it in wireless before. But the Sonos guys, and by the way, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacey, but I don't think they've backed down on this. The Sonos guys said, we don't want to see all of these old speakers on the aftermarket. People buy them expecting the modern Sonos experience, and they can't do it.
I obviously have lots of feelings about this.
Because you have lots of Sonos speakers, right?
I spent $2,000 in the last probably not 2 years. Since 2009, I've spent about $2,000 on Sonos equipment, all of which is now...
You're a punter. John, how much have you spent obsolete? On Sonos equipment? I mean, I think zero. Oh, they gave us... Okay, never mind. The studio speakers they gave to us. My speakers at home, I've bought almost $5,000 worth of Sonos speakers.
But Stacey, were you just saying that's what were you just saying it's now obsolete?
No, yours aren't obsolete.
So, let's start from the beginning. Let's say what's happening.
That's where you like to start.
They are no longer. I do. I like to start with the
facts. Let's shall we sing this out of music? From the very beginning.
A very good place to start.
It is indeed. That's why Stacey starts there.
So Sonos sent out an email yesterday.
And I haven't seen the new thing. They sent out
You didn't get the email? Well, then your stuff may not be obsolete.
I didn't. Well, I haven't looked. I don't look at my email but once every month or so.
What?
I don't like email.
Next, he's going to give up email.
Now I got to look and see the email.
He gave up Twitter and Facebook. Next, he's going to give up email. Just watch. I predict it.
Sonos, on Tuesday, everybody got their email saying end of software updates. So what is happening is if you have a product that was introduced between 2005 and 2011, and there is a list of products, and Sonos tells you which of your products will be affected, those devices after May will not receive software updates and new features. So Sonos has said, though, that they're looking at a way for you to create a legacy network where those devices will work, but they will no longer be part of a whole home system if you have newer devices in your home.
Yes.
The other thing to think about is those legacy devices. If like an API changes, like a Spotify API or Tidal changes something, it won't be updated.
Oh, no.
So it's possible that your Sonos, and likely that over time, your Sonos gear from that era will become less useful to you. It will gracefully degrade.
Gracefully or not so gracefully?
Well, I mean, it's graceful in the sense that it's not going to shut off in May.
Yeah.
Right? They're not, but over time it is going to become less useful. So then they offer
for a discount on new stuff. Okay,
I did.
Yes. And then they have the options. You have options. Continue using legacy products.
Yeah.
Scream on Twitter.
Or that is not an option. Trade up legacy products. Save 30% on the new product when you upgrade through the Sonos Trade Up program.
Right.
Then it's subject to terms and conditions. Some of those terms and conditions are not awesome. But the reason why, and this gets to something like, I sold my Play 5, my original Play 5 studio device, a month ago online.
That person's pissed.
Exactly. And I'm really sad. So I understand
that was their point. Yeah.
Why they don't, like, if I were not an ethical individual, and I told my husband, I was like, don't recycle, don't do that because you're going to screw this person over. So just sell it and make sure they understand that they're buying a first generation product.
I just looked at the email.
How many things are yours?
How many things?
The Connect in the den, the bridge, the Connect living room, the Play 5 bedroom, the Play 5 bathroom, the Play 5 kitchen, the Play 5 bedroom, the Play 5 kitchen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. In fact, I think of all of the Sonos devices I have, only a handful will continue to work. No, they're gonna work. They're just not gonna, they might degrade. See, this is the disconnect, because I thought many did. We were buying speakers. We weren't buying speakers. We were buying computers. And like any computer, like a Chromebook after 8 years, like an Android device after 3, like an iPhone after a few, they go out of date.
Was it a proprietary Wi-Fi, or was it? So that's the problem.
It was, and that. Well, no, that's the only way they could do that at that time. That was their secret sauce. They later on, when they did the Play 5, built a whole new speaker system and chip for that, which was really exciting. For nerds.
So those will presumably last longer,
No,
but there's still no guarantee, right?
No, there's no guarantee. And here's the issue, or here's one of the issues. Speakers and audio are actually, media is difficult because codecs change all the time.
Right.
So it's not like all of the other, like if you release a product, how long do you want to be on the hook to support it? And that's a legit question. And people think of things like speakers, thermostats, light switches as devices that should last forever. And what we're running into is the fact that they are computers. So what do you replace? And how smart do you want this to be? A standard will help here. So I was talking to somebody about the idea of the connected home over IP standard that Apple, Amazon, and Google have said they're going to work towards. Something like that wouldn't help exactly in this situation. You'd need like audio standards. But I also think, I'm like, is it possible for Spotify to say, hey, X percentage of our listeners listen on Sonos devices. Maybe we'll keep a version of that API stable for Sonos users. Like this gets into this idea that what we're actually building are services, not individual products,
right,
and that they're part of an ecosystem of relationships that need to be maintained over time.
Right. This is something you deal with all the time in IoT. And
Yes.
these are really just early IoT devices. They're maybe among the earliest of the IoT devices.
So did you see Richard Lawler's piece on Engadget?
No, tell us about it.
His headline is, "The morning after Sonos legacy plan makes smart homes look silly." They put that on there just to say.
Yeah, because we're all good. This is going to happen to everybody, right? For everything.
This is, for years, this is why I've been asking companies, and we did this on the show today, so if you listen to my show, you're going to hear this all over again, so skip ahead. In either show, I don't care. Companies have been telling people that connected devices are amazing because you can add features over time. Yes, your oven gets better. Your, Amazon Echo gets better over time. The flip side of that is at some point in time, it will get worse. And companies need to be mandated to tell you when these things expire. Because right now we don't have a
lot
standard.
of these, I'm looking, I bought 2 years ago. So
if you bought it 2 years ago, and it's being end of life, because they're saying if you bought it from a Sonos,
I bought
like a legit
everything from
Sonos dealer.
So I have, you see, this is why I should be shot. I bought way too many. So I have 5 modern products and 11 out of life products. I bought way too much Sonos.
Wow.
So, but now I'll never buy. I'm not going to upgrade these because it's going to happen again. You just killed me as a customer, Sonos. Dead. I'll ride this one down and I'll never buy another Sonos product again.
Jim Lauterbach went crazy on Facebook about it. He was just so enraged.
I have never seen this has happened a bunch of times. Also in the great bricking of yesterday, UA, Under Armour said they were going to brick their Under Armour Connect devices. It's a scale, it's a bunch of other stuff. And they weren't going to let people export data, which was a problem. And then last week we had Charter Spectrum say that they were going to kill their smart home security service, which includes thermostats, sensors, cameras, etc. And people who invested and leased that equipment, they're obviously upset because they're out thousands or a couple hundred.
How many people have taken advantage of the trade up? Because it's 30% off, but
30% is not much.
That's not much on these expensive devices.
Yeah, that's the problem with this stuff. It's always been overpriced.
And by the way, some of this, I don't think they even make some of this stuff. I don't know what I would trade up to.
No, some of them they don't. Because remember, and I think we talked about this a year ago, they stopped making, I think it was the Connects.
I have a bunch of Connects. I have Boosts, and I have Docks, which they stopped making also.
Stacey is so right that what there should be is an industry principle of ethics of giving you some kind of warranty of what you're going to get. Note that Google just said for new Chromebooks, not all of them though, new Chromebooks, they're going to update for 8 years, which I think is even longer than they need to. but fine.
Microsoft does Windows 10 years, but there's no end of life on the hardware. It's just on the operating system. So
Right.
you could then put Linux or even a newer version of Windows on there. So wait a minute, 7 devices ready to recycle. Should I push this
Did you
button?
just no?
Because it'll brick them.
It'll. Well, I think you have 30 days.
You're not
before
going to
it breaks them.
upgrade, are you?
Well, no, they're all in operation right now.
Well, then let them.
Then let them be.
Let them be.
Yeah.
Well, I
and
just want to
see
know.
what- I mean-
So this is the thing. I want to know. Well, what is it going to be replaced with, and how much is that going to cost me? Do I have to brick it before I can find out? Because they haven't told me yet. I've just checked all the boxes, and then
Don't
it
do it.
says recycle
No,
selected.
Stop! Don't do that.
Okay, but I want to know.
Stop. Dr.
Okay.
Strangelove.
I want to know what
Okay.
what it's going to cost me to replace these.
Then stop. Go look online for products.
But
and
what
see
do
how
they
much
propose to
cost.
replace the Connects with?
Okay, that is a decent question. What is it? The Connect function ties your.
It basically means you can use your own speakers. It's the Sonos part of the Sonos system minus the speakers. So you connect it to the
Right.
internet and you connect it to your speakers. And now it's not an amp; it's just an interface to streaming music. But I
Stacey,
like that. I
this
have
stuff
that in
will
my
still
living room, and
work.
I have on my stereos. Right?
Yes. So Connect. Okay, Connect.
That doesn't matter. I'm not.
Sonos
The point really
speakers.
here is if you're using, like the smart thing to do is replace this with 10 Google Home Maxes.
Oh God, no! That is stupid. Replace it.
I just
If
said
you
that so
have-
she could say that. I just wanted to say
Okay,
that.
so the Amazon has a speaker input thing, so you could buy that, and that's like $25 a pop.
But does it work with Sonos?
Oh, you want it to still work with Sonos?
Well, yes, I have this whole
Okay.
Sonos. John, we're going to have the same problem. These are all Sonos Play 5s. They're all going to be out of date. He doesn't care because,
But again, they'll keep operating. They just won't update.
and we don't
Yeah.
use them with Spotify. We use them with our own music library. So who cares, right? Yeah, they'll still
Yeah.
work as speakers.
And I mean, if you're running this against like a NAS drive or something, you're
Then
fine.
it's fine. Okay.
I feel like the Sonos Amp is what you would use with your speakers.
Yeah, but that's a little more than a Connect because it includes an amplifier.
Yeah, I know it's a little.
I
I think that's your option.
Yeah, I know. You know what? This has honestly been brewing for a while. Sonos had discontinued the dock, which I used with I had a 30-pin dock for your iPhone, and I had an adapter to work with Lightning. But and I guess it kind of works. And then these Connects, they never replaced them. The Boost, I don't think they ever replaced the Boost. In fact, they don't even know I have a Boost.
They're like, what is this weird product? to be
It's
selling?"
an
in
unauthorized
other words,
Boost.
they were throwing some stuff against the wall, and it never really, it slid down. Nowadays, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacey, there are a number of devices that duplicate this whole house music feature.
Oh,
without-
yes, you
yeah.
can get lots of devices that
This
do
isn't
this.
hard to
So-
do this. I kind of knew
although some
when
of
I
them
was
are out
spending
there.
thousands of dollars for what was, let's be honest, only an okay speaker system, that I was getting hoodwinked. I knew that even then. It just was convenient.
It was convenient,
Sonos-
and the value was. I mean, when they created Sonos, it was really exciting because the internet was. I mean, this was the early days of the internet. You got to. I mean, like this was 2005.
And I had some great parties because we could turn all the speakers. I had 2 great parties. We could turn all the speakers on, and the whole house was rocking. That's why I ended up getting those outdoor Sonos that they just offered, which I have yet to use. They just kind of sit on their charging stands because nobody ever comes over anymore.
Sonos stock is down 2.3% today, but it's still higher than it was a year ago by a considerable amount.
Yeah, that's only because until recently, everybody thought this over for Sonos. Everybody,
Yeah.
I mean, because they don't have any secret sauce anymore.
No.
And everybody assumed that Amazon's Echo and the Google Assistant would kind of eliminate the need for Sonos, period.
So
what
what's the
would you
great
get-
update that they think that they're going to make that makes this worthwhile pissing off all their customers?
Amazon Echo.
Well, no, they just.
No. What's the thing that
They're
Sonos
adding Echo
says?
capability.
Oh,
I can talk to my Sonos now. I have Google Assistant and Echo in it.
Well,
That's the new stuff.
They've also expanded their product line significantly for things like the IKEA line. They have the IKEA line of connected
Do I look
speakers.
like somebody who would buy IKEA speakers?
I don't think they're cute. Although Kevin said, I mean, the bookshelf one is fine.
Do I look like a college kid?
We
Sonos
decorated our
speakers.
entire home in Ikea.
I'm just teasing. I buy a lot of stuff at Ikea, but I get somebody else
IKEA
to
is the
assemble
reason
it.
we went to Sweden on vacation. I was so amazed with.
Oh, IKEA is amazing, and those meatballs.
Meatballs, right?
So good. Do you have? Do the speakers come in a flat pack and you have to assemble them?
No, they just they're already made. Look, Google the IKEA bookshelf speaker, Sonos speaker. They're cute.
I think it would be, though, in hindsight, a bad idea to buy any more Sonos gear.
Mm-hmm. Well, in that, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, they are cute. They're little lamps.
Oh no, those are hideous. But the lamps are. But the bookshelf one is cute. The Symfonisk bookshelf.
Symfonisk.
They always have to give them weird Swedish
names.
Yeah. You don't like the lamp?
No, the lamp is hideous. What is that? No. Good.
Yeah. I like how they put it next to a bunch of candles that actually have been used, which is interesting.
You asked me an actual question, but I don't remember what it was.
That's because we keep interrupting.
We were having IKEA fun.
We're having too much fun with IKEA.
Oh, West Elm sells Sonos gear. Who knew?
And they're pretty inexpensive. There's a West Elm just down in San Rafael here. So, but I'm just. What is the what am I have to? What do I have to get a Raspberry Pi and some clip horns and do it myself? What is the alternative? I put an open hab
wires.
No, well, for speakers,
pliers. Yeah, I mean, is there?
Okay, so there's the Echo input.
I could put those all over the place, and those will drive a powered speaker system. So
right.
You could then get nice powered speakers, which will never become obsolete because they're just speakers.
Right, and that's the idea. That's kind of like why I don't want a smart TV. I like having my Roku box.
Yeah, because you can upgrade that.
So that's this for Google. Google doesn't have anything
Actually,
like
the Google
the Echo.
Home Max is a really nice speaker.
It's a great speaker.
It is as good as any of my Sonos speakers.
But aren't they already built in? Aren't you? I'm trying to help you use your existing built-in speakers.
So I could still use, if I don't do the trade up, I could use all of the Sonos speakers as plain old speakers, right, John? I'll just connect them as we're going to do here, and have the source be Spotify until that's deprecated, or whatever, and then I'll use something else.
And there's a company called Blue Sound that does wireless sound around your home.
Yeah, I
I
suspect there will also be third. What was when the Pebble went out? There was a Rebel, right? This third-party firmware that you could try to keep your Pebble watch working.
Well,
there'll be Ronos.
Ronos. There's
better than Bonos.
These are expensive, but the Blue Sound system has something called the Node 2i.
But see, that's going to have the same problem, isn't it? Because it's going to be some proprietary protocol that will someday be obsoleted.
Yeah, this you connect to an amplifier of AV receiver or any powered audio. So this does this.
Yeah, and then you would replace the Node sound. This is the Roku in your analogy, basically.
Right.
And then you use, it's $549.
It is expensive.
Holy
yes, I would. My caveat here is these are high quality audio products and priced as such. I mean, when you get into that, I remember my dad buying a Rotel amplifier, I think it was.
Yeah,
and
I had my Rotel.
God, I wanted to go to college, Dad.
But it's a Rotel, honey. I had a Rotel amplifier with a Proton television. That was the state of the art in 1980.
What junkyard is that in now?
Yeah. So, you know what? It is really kind of foolish to say, Sonos, how dare you obsolete these? This stuff, it's electronics. But
it goes back to your original point, which is as these companies are whining about Google and Facebook and Twitter, they're doing things themselves.
Yeah, they're all just as bad. Sonos is suing Google because they dared to compete with Sonos by creating full house sound.
For $25.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really true. In fact, really, and maybe you can help me with this, Stacey. At some point, I think I'm going to give up on the whole idea of, Chip, this new alliance and all that, and just pick a winner and say, I'm going all in on Amazon, or I'm going all in on Google.
If you pick a winner, my suggestion to you, do you have an iPhone?
Yes. I also have an Android phone.
Of course.
Oh.
Do I have an
Yes,
iPhone?
every phone ever made.
No, I don't have any phones.
So I would say if everyone in your house is on an iPhone,
Yes,
pick
they are.
HomeKit. It's local.
HomeKit.
It is the easiest to use. I personally don't like it just because I have issues with Apple, but from a usability.
Siri is so stupid.
Well, yeah, that does leave you with Siri. But you can do a lot just from your phone, and you could just set the automations, and then you can have your Googles for useful things.
Actually, they're very good with the automations. The shortcuts and everything actually are better than anybody's, I think.
Exactly. So so if you set that up, most of your stuff, and a lot of your HomeKit capable stuff can be also linked to Google. So you could have...
Yeah, because I have Google Nest cameras. I have Google Nest doorbell. I have Echoes everywhere, but I've kind of duplicated functionality in every room, so there's an Echo sitting next to a Google. In some cases, next to Cortana. In some cases, next to a Home Hub. My kitchen has all four in the kitchen.
What's your electric bill in a month?
Oh, you don't want to know.
You know, I should plug my Insight switch in and see how I don't think they use that much electricity. But this is, well, I don't know about Leo's.
I feel like this is all inevitable, and I understand Jim Louderback's anger. I'm a little miffed because we all spent a lot of money on Sonos, but really we were the suckers even then. That's
what I said. I never bought them.
You were right.
I never bought. I didn't say anything to you guys. I didn't make fun of you, but I always thought this S is overpriced.
Well, and I'm being honest when I said we only use the whole house sound.
Right.
Very rarely, once in a while. And in that case, we're listening in a single room when anything would work fine in a single room.
It's possible that this is their attempt. So Sonos is having trouble competing against Amazon and Google.
Yeah.
And it's possible they need to rally the troops, condense their resources, kind of bring all their resources in-house to focus on some sort of strategic differentiation, at which point they looked at supporting all of this and said, hey, that's going to cost us, X dollars a year that we just don't have. So we're willing to take this hit now, jettison the legacy stuff that we don't have the means to support, and then push forward with something else. They just might be between a rock and a hard place.
I think
and
you're
again,
right.
When we say obsolete them, it's really clear. I mean, it's important to say, and I that's why I would like for you to keep yours going, Leo, is we don't know how it's going to fail and how long it will take.
Right.
It may not take.
Why throw it out if it works? It still works.
Yeah, it may just be a feature you don't care about.
Right. I don't use Spotify.
And any feature you're likely to care about, Amazon's going to have.
Right.
And you already have it in every room.
And that may be when you want to upgrade. And you may, like, the next Sonos that they're, like, deciding to, like, focus on and build may be so amazing that you're like, well, holy crap, I'm back in.
Unlikely.
Well,
but who knows?
I think we're going to see this debate play out 100 times in the next few years as consumers run into these walls. Philips Hue has already told people that they are not going to support their hubs beyond 3 years after purchase. So a lot of the smart home companies are coming out and saying, okay, this is how long you can expect us to support this. And I think that's a maturation thing. And we all need to figure this out, both as the buyers of this stuff and as the salespeople.
Feels like it's just another nail in the coffin of home automation and IoT. Like,
and it could
I think
be.
consumers are kind of aware now. Microsoft pissed everybody off because they said, yeah, we're not going to update Windows 7 anymore. And people went, but, and I hear people complaining about 8 years on Chromebooks. I hear people complaining about 3 years on Android phones.
Complain about 8 years on a Chromebook?
Well,
that's the expectation. We're changing our expectations right now about what and where we should stick smarts and computers in our products.
Here's why it's offensive in general, and offensive to me, is the physical hardware is fine. It's not worn out. The speakers work, the Chromebooks work, the phones work.
It's economically, it's ecologically.
It's an ecologic nightmare. They're all going in landfill, even though, see, a car wears out, a refrigerator wears out. These things are not worn out. They're pristine. in most cases, they have not in any way gotten worse. In fact, you could probably argue the speakers actually sound better.
Well,
what's worn
Sonos
out is the software.
Well, no, they're arguing, and I don't know how true this is because I'm not seeing their update sizes, but they're arguing that there's not enough processing power and memory to do some of the new features. So
yes, but no, that's the same argument with why Microsoft doesn't support Windows 7 is that times have moved on, and so we need to move on. We're not going to support the old stuff because we want to do new stuff, and that's technology. I just think that consumers. Yeah, it may be that our frame of reference is old school. Oh, it's hardware. It shouldn't wear out. When it should be, oh, it's software. Of course it wears out. But it's somehow offensive, I think, to a lot of people, certainly me.
Oh, it's totally offensive.
Because it's perfectly good hardware.
And that's why I think manufacturers have a huge role to play in changing the conversation and talking about expiration dates for these devices. Because otherwise people buy it thinking they're buying hardware. Because people, I mean, we're smart, but we don't want to think. I mean, when you buy something like this, when you buy a speaker, you don't want to think about all of this. You don't want to think about privacy and two-factor and, how long it's going to last and when's my next software update. You want it to work. And this is a huge branding challenge for the smart home and all the companies building these products. And the challenge also is if Sonos comes out and says, hey, we're going to support our speakers. If you buy this today, this has a 10-year useful life, let's call it. I'm going to look at that, and then I'm going to look at like the blue speakers, whatever, the blue sound stuff. And if they don't have that same information, I'm probably going to buy the blue sound because I'm like, well, they're not going to stop supporting it in 10 years when maybe they only have a 5-year term, but they bury it in terms and conditions.
Right. Plus, a company can just die.
Yeah, I don't think Sonos even knew that this would happen.
No, this was not, well, I think they knew that people were going to be unhappy about this. I don't think going in when they designed the product.
When I bought those speakers, they couldn't say, "Oh, this is only we're only going to support them for 10 years." They didn't say that,
right?
And they didn't.
But they could have designed differently. They could have designed more modularly.
Modular. You're right, and that's kind of what you're talking about.
Keep the speaker. Plug in this, more memory.
That's why you don't buy a smart TV because it's cheap to upgrade a Roku while the screen's still good. It's because we still have this durable goods mentality that there's some things like a television and a computer are durable goods, like a refrigerator are durable goods. Those things should last. Software is not a durable good, so make it modular. Though
people don't like modular.
No, I bought a Samsung OLED TV. It was $10,000 when the OLEDs first came out. It had no electronics inside. It had a box that attached to it that was in theory upgradable. But of course, they never updated it. They never upgraded it. There is no replacement because by the time they were going to do that, well, there's better OLEDs now. So
much cheaper.
Right.
Cheaper than that box would have cost you.
Yes.
I actually wrote about this in the newsletter last week. There's a story about it's actually chips that are upgradable inside. It's basically creating silicon that you can upgrade. You can turn on more memory or turn on more processing power. I saw that at CES, and it was pretty compelling for things like exactly this Sonos issue, right? But ironically, John McFarlane, who is he's one of the founders of Sonos, former CEO there, he tweeted at me, he's like, this is just an effort by Qualcomm to charge people more, and I hate it. Which I thought was, it is a point. This kind of flexibility is going to be more expensive.
You'll pay for the upgrade, right? You'll send them money and they'll turn on more features.
Right. And this is a common model. Remember when we had this whole core debate for software and you were like, oh, now I'm going to put my software on more seats or I need more cores. I want to run it on more cores.
Look no farther than your Tesla. Elon does that all the time.
Right.
Except Elon's smart. He gets the money up front.
There you go.
He's charged a lot of people $5,000 on the promise that you'll be able to upgrade it autopilot. I don't know, maybe you will. I don't know. You didn't buy that when you bought your Model S?
Because my Model S was not capable of being upgraded to that.
No, but when you buy, that's the thing. You have to buy it when it's new. If I were to have bought a Model 3, for instance, I would have had to make that decision. Do I pay an extra $5,000 for what Elon said full self-driving? Oh, yeah, we'll have full self-driving in a couple of years. But it'll cost you a lot more if you get it then. You have to get it now.
Have you traded in your Tesla yet?
Oh, yeah, it's gone.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
What are you driving now?
I only leased it. It was a 3-year lease.
Oh, 3-year, okay.
And that's, what Lisa insists. She won't let me buy a car because for tax reasons and business reasons.
Right, for you.
And honestly, she was right about any
for
electric,
a Tesla?
For a Tesla, because there's so much improvement down the road and so forth. So I'm driving a gas vehicle. But at the end of the year, I mentioned this, at the end of the year, Ford is coming out with its first real electric vehicle. They call it a Mustang, the Mach-E. It's a crossover. Yeah. It's got every feature I want, so I already put the deposit down on that. I think.
What's the likely price on that?
$59,000 for the one I'm getting, which is first edition. It'll go. You can get it for less. I think this starts at $39,000.
I saw the What's the Volvo new brand?
That's nice too. Yeah, they have a funny name. Polar? Is that no? What is Polestar?
Polestar. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I like Volvos. I don't know.
I could live in a Volvo.
I could live in a Volvo. I could literally live in a Volvo. and honestly, when you're in podcasting, it's probably prudent to buy a car you can live in.
There you
go. Unless you get bought by the New York Times.
What did they just buy? Don't tell me. I'm going to cry.
Well, they're looking to buy the makers of cereal.
Kellogg's?
I thought Gimlet produced cereal.
That's what I thought.
No,
didn't Spotify buy cereal?
No, Spotify. No, it's not by Sarah Koenig and.
Yeah. I wonder what the Times is going to pay. Spotify is rumored to be buying Ringer. So that's Bill Simmons' sports culture network. That it's gross. Its revenues are not that much more than ours. They're very similar, same size company. I bet you they get sold for $100 million. I'm just going to ride.
Everybody,
Twit
Leo
is like
for
Sonos.
sale.
Twit is like Sonos. I'm going to ride it down to the ground, and then we'll recycle.
Sorry, people, stop listening now. We're going to be obsolete soon.
No, we will work with your ears forever. Yeah, it's really an interesting shakeup in this. But didn't this happen in blogging as well, where there were a lot of independent blogs, and then they just kind of all got the successful ones got snarfed up.
Anymore. Yeah.
But you don't see that same kind of fertility in the blog space these days.
No, not at all. No.
Fertility?
I was going to let it go, Stacey. I was going to let it go.
I'm like,
1,000 flowers blooming
let it go.
In the early days of bloggery, which was 95 to 2005, something like that.
So U.S. podcast advertising revenue was about $678 million last year, according to eMarketer.
I have to say that's a complete guess. No one knows.
Yes, no one knows. No,
we made last year almost $9 million in revenue.
Wow.
According to, I know. I don't know where it went. According
to Sonos, that's where.
Yeah, I bought a lot of Sonos gear last year. Actually, that's off from our peak, which is almost 10 million. But Ringer was 16 million. They say anyway, and I bet you, Gimlet. I think the reason Gimlet got sold for 230 million is because they had no revenue. Get much because what happens? Companies do a multiple of EBITDA.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have EBITDA, then there's a multiple. If your EBITDA is zero.
EBITDA is earnings before income and taxes.
Yeah. It's what you make.
Income, depreciation,
your profit.
and taxes. Yeah.
And so it's maybe, 5 to 10 times EBITDA. But if your EBITDA is zero, if you're losing money, like Uber, like everybody in Silicon Valley, then the sky's the limit. You're literally worth more if you're losing money than if you're making money.
Well, for many years,
as long as you're growing.
Amazon.
Yeah, if growing, we lose money, but we make it up in volume.
Right.
Yeah. Those losses just get bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah, we lose
Every
more
person
money.
we add, we lose more money.
Yeah.
Buy more Sonos. It'll be fun.
It's a very strange world we live in.
It is.
Well, it's based on, and these are serious questions we should be having, right? It's based on the current internet business model,
yes.
Google's business model, eyeballs. Yes. So if you think about that, as opposed to like a product-oriented one or a subscription-oriented one, and what's happening is we're coming to this era where we're like, holy crap, there's so many crazy business models, and we're just now uncovering how they're working and the repercussions on us. When historically, we've pretty much, if you see something you like, you buy it, you take it home with you, and you own it. And maybe you rent something, but now we've got software as a service. So maybe you rent something as needed. Maybe you rent it one time. Maybe it's a constant. Maybe you're buying a product and you're also sharing data because you're not buying the product at full price. I mean, it's crazy. And we don't know yet. We haven't really lived that for long enough.
No, it's true. It is early days, damn it. Yes.
I love it, though. I mean, that's for me, this is our bread and butter. We love the uncertainty because it's fun to talk about it. For instance, who knew that New Jersey had a Twitter account?
And a brilliant one it is. Yo. It is a brilliant Twitter account.
For instance, somebody tweeted, who let New Jersey have a Twitter? It's at, by the way, if you want to follow them, it's at NJGov, G-O-V. Who let New Jersey have a Twitter? A guy named Gary wondered. Your mom, replied the state of New Jersey. By the way, that tweet, 500,000 likes. So they're clearly speaking the talk.
There's a huge
and they're
fight
verified.
They're verified. Of course they are.
Yes. As to whether or not there is such a thing as Central Jersey, which I believe we are, I'm in it. There's a huge fight about this. No, it's just North and South. There's no such thing as Central. And so there's a constant fight on here. And they have a video of Bon Jovi confirming that there is a Central Jersey. By the way, our official state dog now is the Seeing Eye dog.
Is that really true?
Yeah, because Morristown is the headquarters of the Seeing Eye.
Oh, that's nice.
You go up there.
We have guide dogs who are trained here in San Rafael too. Yeah,
it's so great. You watch these dogs. You're not allowed to talk to them, but the dogs are being trained all the time. They're wonderful.
So the state of New Jersey clearly is doing this right. I mean, this has got to be the only state that has Baby Yoda as its avatar. The official Twitter of the Garden State, all Jersey, all the time.
You have to have dark mode. Jesus,
I love dark mode. What's wrong with dark mode? It hurts my eyes, the white mode.
Really bothers me.
Let New Jersey have a Twitter. New Jersey becomes the first state. Every female rapper ever heard from New Jersey got bars. I don't know what this is. There it is. John Bon Jovi confirming the existence of Central Jersey. Let me turn on the audio so we can.
I'm proof that it exists.
Here, hey, John.
Does Central Jersey exist?
Absolutely. I'm proof that it exists. We are Central Jersey.
That's our new sign.
That's the gang.
Our new sign.
That's the gang sign.
That's my gang sign for Central Jersey.
We are Central Jersey. That's the C for Central.
Another just random tweet from NJGov. Take the next jug handle.
I don't get it. Is that a Jersey?
You don't even know
thing?
what that is?
No, what's a jug handle?
New Jersey had two things that were unique or special to New Jersey in traffic. One was we had the circle, but we were smart enough to get the hell rid of it, and Boston still has those stupid things. And then the other one is the jug handle. You never take a left turn in New Jersey. You always go around.
The Jersey jug handle.
The Jersey jug handle.
Nice.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Wait, are
Take the
circles,
next
like,
jug handle,
rotaries?
it says.
What?
Are circles rotaries?
Circles are rotaries. We think they're dumb. We used to have them, but we learned.
Rotaries are quite effective.
Oh, they're brilliant.
No. People get killed in rotaries.
What? Oh, in New Jersey they do.
You drive like you do in Jersey.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a. Yeah.
You shouldn't do the rotary.
We just started putting them in. I think they're great. They're also less expensive to build. You don't have to put in street lights.
Isn't there's a word for the left not having a left turn? It's like it says like a Massachusetts left or a something left. What am I talking about?
In Hudson County, New Jersey, they have a different constitution. It says the people turning left have a right of way over all forms of life.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, well done, New Jersey.
Yeah.
They got a whole article in the New Yorker about it, so I guess they must have done
something
late,
right. But that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, really? So I'm just catching up now.
Yeah, I put it in that thing.
If it's not in the New Yorker, I can't be expected to know about it. How am I to know? You young people. Google has just released a high-res brain map of the fruit fly.
The most high-res brain map ever.
It looks like it's Skittles. It looks like the fruit fly ate the rainbow. 25,000 neurons, which sounds like a lot, but it ain't. Nope.
I thought we already mapped the neurons of a rat and a dog.
To date, only the
more about the
roundworm
visualization.
C. elegans has had its brain completely mapped.
Oh,
Huh, I wonder what Darmendra was mapping.
A little bit of a dog brain.
Rat brain.
The connectome is actually a word you should get to know. Because, and this is from Neil Stephenson's last novel, The Fall, they talk about the whole issue of putting your brain in a machine and all of this. And what they finally, in the book, conclude is you don't duplicate the brain, you merely map its connectome. That is the connections that are stored with it.
is that a made up word for him, or is that a real
No,
word?
that's the word they use now. And so mapping the connectome, in fact, it's called connectomics. Well,
So that's the internet.
Connectomics. That's the internet. We're showing you a Wikipedia page. But in fact, even The Verge calls it
connectome. Is
connectome.
the model of the internet.
It uses detailed imaging techniques to map the physical pathways of the brain. This map is only 1/3 of the fruit fly's brain, so only C. elegans, which has apparently even a less cognitive ability than a fruit fly.
Oh yeah, roundworms, very dumb.
Dumb.
When we dissected roundworms in science, you had to be careful not to not to hit the brain.
Drosophila hemibrain, 25,000 neurons, 4,000 distinct types. Here are examples of the type grouped by functional compartment. I love neurotalk. Central complex.
So are we going to call the connectome, that is replacing the whole concept of neuromorphic computing, which used to be
Yes.
such an exciting thing?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because
I'm all for it.
can simulate the connectome.
You
And
cannot simulate a brain.
it's very hard to simulate a brain because of the massively parallel nature of it. But you could simulate the connectome. And so it's conceivable that you could store a connectome.
Yeah, okay. This kind of gets into my whole, do not ask me why I was thinking about this, but I was like, we're really going in space exploration down the wrong track with mechanical,
Right.
survivability of people in space. We're going to have to do some crazy gene editing to make ourselves more adaptable to space.
Why were you thinking of this?
Daniel Suarez.
I don't know.
Daniel Suarez talks about this in his most recent book. We had him on Delta V. We had him on Triangulation a few months ago. He said the whole notion of going to Mars, this whole Elon Musk, let's colonize Mars, is insanely difficult. For instance, Mars is covered with a dust so fine that if you inhaled it, you're dead instantly.
Did you see the Scientific American article about radiation on Mars?
No, another reason one wouldn't want to
Yes.
move there.
It's like you would never want to live there. You would die.
The prospect
Radiation
of
would kill you.
making Mars habitable is almost insurmountable. So this is a whole, MacGuffin. Greta's right. Let's fix this planet. This whole
What we
escape
got?
plan is not going to really be viable for some time.
Can we still send some politicians up there anyway?
Yeah, that's a good idea. You know what? That's how you save the planet.
Yeah,
Move the-
get rid of them.
That's what they did in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They said, oh, the planet's over. Oh my God, we've built a giant space transport. We're going to send you to another planet. But so they sent all the telephone sanitizers, all the useless people, all the useless hairdressers, put them in it and sent them off. And they went, oh yeah, we're going to the new world. And they went, bye-bye. And then we stayed. The rest of us stayed. Bye-bye.
But they died of an infected telephone.
Yes, exactly. Oh, nice quote. Good. That's right. God, Douglas Adams is missed. Speaking of somebody missed, Terry Jones.
Terry Jones.
Yes.
I'm going to be sad having to tell my daughter.
As John Cleese tweeted, now there are only 4 pythons left. Graham Chapman passed away in 85 at a very young age, and then now Terry Jones at 77. He had been diagnosed with dementia a few years ago.
Oh, no.
Passed away at the age of 77. The Great Monty Python. And if I showed you a picture, in fact, I will, of the young Terry Jones, you'll recognize him immediately if you're a Python fan.
And he was the director of
Life of Brian.
Thank you, Life of Brian.
Yeah. Life of Brian. He was Welsh. There's an older picture. Let me see if I can find a younger. Oh yeah, here he is. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. That's actually another old picture because that's a recreation. But yeah, what a wonderful, funny.
I was like, that's not him.
No.
The New York Times on their obit has a picture of him where you can see.
Let me go back here. Here's the BBC.
Oh, they probably have something.
Yes. And look back at the comedian's life. There he is. That's Terry Jones right there. So very sad to lose one of the great comic minds of our time. And kids, have you turned your daughter on to Monty Python?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. We were doing the Ministry of Silly Walks when she was like 4.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, and her favorite sketch is the hit on the head. I can't think of the actual skit, but
The argument clinic.
Yes, the argument clinic. So anytime anything hits her in the head, she goes, ow, and then she goes, wah!
Good for. Oh, you are raising that kid right.
We had fun.
Watch sometime the 1985. Paul Thurrott turned me on to this earlier today. Eulogy that John Cleese delivered for Graham Chapman. It is marvelous. It is very funny. Terry Jones was, of course, the very, very fat man in The Meaning of Life who explodes. That's a disgusting picture. Here he is on the right in Life of Brian. What a talent. There he is as a gesture in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So he was also this character was called the fat character was called Mr. Creosote. Let's get that right. Yep. And what did he have? He wanted one more little
a wafer thin. It's a mint.
Thin mint.
Would you like a mint, sir? It's wafer thin.
Wafer thin. God, you got to go back and watch all of those. That was good TV. I bought a lot of them too. A bunch of DVDs of the Dick Cavett show. You won't know who that is, Stacey, but
nope.
But Mr. Jarvis will remember.
I certainly do.
And
that was that defined erudite in our generation.
Yes. And at the end of all the shows, it says, Mr. Cavett's wardrobe provided by J. Press of New Haven. But it's fun to watch because he interviewed everybody, of course, in the 60s and 70s. And I was watching his interview with George Harrison. And this is probably I don't know when it was. No, it was 72, something like that. And Harrison says, have you seen Monty Python? It's hysterical. And nobody in America had heard of it yet. I think George Harrison was instrumental, actually, in bringing Monty Python to a broader audience. He produced, I remember he produced some of their movies. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Time Bandits, maybe. I don't remember. Anyway.
Dick Cavett interviewed Howard Stern and was befuddled by him.
Oh, I bet he was. My entire career is modeled on Dick Cavett. Just so you know.
Okay, wait. Have we talked about Google much at all?
Yeah. Oh, so much.
Okay, no, I'm just checking. I'm like, wait a second.
Wake up, Stacey. Wake up, Stacey.
I just did the fruit fly
like
brain.
An hour of the show.
I just did the fruit fly brain. That was
people being pissed at them.
Oh, that was Google.
And the $1 trillion.
Okay, yes, the $1 trillion. Okay, I feel better.
Did we mention last week that Google is killing third-party cookies over the next few years?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did, but we didn't. There's a thing I put up on the rundown. The one thing just to mention is
kind of a follow-up.
How much is this going to hurt publishers? I mean, is this a wonderful for privacy act? Or is this a form of industry capture?
That's
where
the latter. Absolutely.
Yeah, Google wins and little guys lose.
Because
now I've been screaming at my industry, screaming at them for years to no end. Nobody listens to me.
That's because you're a crank.
I'm on the need not to go list. Davos, but screaming that they had to develop their own first-party data. They had to build products that would enable that because you built products that were targeted to interests and needs.
That's right.
That you could use that across your services, and that you could build commerce around that, and so on and so forth. And they don't do it because they still will only think in terms of a mass product.
Right.
I think the New York Times is doing an okay job with like the Wirecutter and
the New York Times is
some
the
of the
grand exception to
newsletters.
everything. Yeah,
they just announced almost
every other newspaper thinks they can be the New York Times, and sorry guys, you can't.
More than $800 million in subscription revenue last year, right?
Yeah, no. They're and the Washington Post is doing well, but they are national publications.
Right.
They are.
I mean, look at the LA Times was trying to go from 150,000 to 300,000 subs. They got 50,000, but lost 35,000, netted only 15. right? So that's where and the LA Times is like the next biggest paper in the country in terms of market. Nobody else is the New York Times. Nobody.
Local is the victim of the internet because you have to have scale. It shouldn't be.
No, it's the opposite, I think, Leo. I think the problem is they're still trying to get scale at a local market. They should have been local and targeted.
Super serve.
And they should have been super serving. So, and that was their opportunity. And they missed it because they still thought that they were the monopoly in the market at scale.
Case in point, and this is a little bit inside baseball, but bear with me. I do my radio show for the largest radio company in the United States, iHeartMedia now. Their syndication arm is Premier. That's who does my radio show. They have been, over the last week, laying off dozens of local small radio hosts and program directors. The list is staggering. These people were all laid off in the last few days.
So they're going to go with just vanilla national programming?
That's my guess. It's not clear. iHeart has not really addressed this.
What a list.
This is a list from radioinsight.com. It's being updated continuously. Dallas, Dayton, I'll give you Austin's in here, and you, Stacey, probably know your local host.
I bet Stacey hasn't listened to broadcast radio
that's
in
the problem.
20 years.
Sometimes, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, so every market has had 1, 2, 3, sometimes more than layoffs. And I think what this, your first inclination is, well, I blame iHeartMedia. Maybe you would, Jeff, but I would say this is the internet killing radio.
No, it's also radio killed radio. Radio was crap. If you go to Europe, radio is still popular and loved because they have decent programming. Part of that's because they have government subsidized media as well. And no, since the day Howard Stern left terrestrial, I haven't listened to terrestrial.
Well, and you're not alone. And I think
that's what I listen to.
This has been good for podcasting. People used to be, you turn on the radio in the car, you push one of those 5 buttons, you listen to that station. Now it's all on. This is what you listen to in the car for most people.
I take it back. I had to listen to radio for one other reason. I had to listen to the absolutely bilious NJ1015 because they are the only ones who had traffic.
Right.
And traffic on radio is the stupidest thing ever invented. You have millions of miles of roads.
I know, and all you get to hear
30
is
30 seconds going to tell you what happens in a few of them. It is just an awful, awful thing. And when Waze came along, it saved me from those bozos. Yeah. And made me really happy. So it's the internet, but it's the internet writ large.
I think the same thing is happening to small town newspapers that's happening to small town radio stations. And the problem is we lose who's going to cover the city councils, who's going to give you the local story. There is something amazing going on in every small community, and small town radio and small town newspapers covered it. But what is the problem, Jeff? Is it how do you
reinvent journalism?
Can podcasts save it? Should podcasters go out and should there be a Petaluma podcast?
Yeah, but it's a tough business.
Well, you have to. I figure all the retailers who bought ads on the local radio stations,
they're dying.
Oh, they're dying too.
They're dying. Number one, and number two, if they're not dying, they can advertise on TripAdvisor and Google and so on, and get a better deal. And so the business. I heard from a local blogger. I think is a really good guy. He's a little cranky, but that's what makes him survive. And I thought, okay, he's an example I've been giving for some time of somebody who's doing a good job. I'm not going to say who he is.
We still have Petaluma Patch.
He's not doing that well.
Is Patch?
Patch is not what it was.
Yeah. It seems there should be a model, but I don't know what the model is. Maybe there is no revenue in that hyper local. You always use that word hyper local. I
loved hyperlocal. I wrote a whole thing and I was completely wrong about it, thinking that hyperlocal blogs were going to save us as a building block. I was utterly, completely wrong. Because it's too hard, the work is too hard, and programmatic came in and took away a lot of that advertising. Where even Aunt Emma's Jam can sell on programmatic and Google better than they can in the local publication. Local retail is dying rapidly, and there wasn't the market for it. So we have to rethink around community-based things and service-based things. And knowledge of people. And
it hits me because in 1976 in college, I fell in love with radio. And all I ever wanted to do was radio. I dropped out of school to do radio. And if not for the grace of podcasting, there go I, 1,000 local small-town radio hosts. I probably would have been one of them out of work. And it's not like you can go to the other station across the street.
No.
Those jobs are disappearing.
I think the people who made fun of me for being internet back in newspapers, and I became the assistant managing editor of the Duluth Daily Disgrace. And Jarvis, where are you? Working for People Magazine, you slime. And now they're all unemployed. And I don't say that with any glee, but they all kind of said, "Oh, well, yeah." So you're right.
I mean, I don't want to portion blame. It might just be this is economics. They may be the buggy whip makers of the 21st century. That's all.
So I just was writing this part of it. So when Gutenberg, when Gutenberg and Fust and Schoeffer were the two first printing shops in the world. They did the Bible, and they split up and did separate shops. And then there was a war in their city of Mainz, and they all got banished for about 2 years. And that's what spread printing around the world, because there are people who work in their print shops said, well, it don't work here. So they took their matrices and their knowledge and they went elsewhere, right? And they grew it. At the same time, the new Archbishop of Mainz said, I want to have printing because I see how powerful this is. Before the war came, there were pamphlets. One of the first things printed on these presses were news pamphlets, polemics from both sides in the war. And so propaganda was one of the first things printed ever. And so one of the winners said, I want that to continue. So he got a monastery to get its own presses and print stuff, right? Because I'm going to support this. And it didn't work as a business. It just didn't work, right? So government support didn't work. We've tried to find these models through time. It took a long time. 1605, the first weekly newspaper, the first regular newspaper ever published in Alsace. He wanted a monopoly, didn't get it. Thought it'd be a great business. Turned out to be a crappy business. And it takes time to reinvent these models and figure it out. It's going to take a long time to rebuild from the ashes. Sorry, end of Gutenberg spiel. You can put your glasses down now.
And then, of course, later, Jefferson's Starship did that great song, City of Mainz, all about this story.
That's a reference, yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
What about this Jeff Bezos story? What do you think about this? Jeff Bezos today tweeting a picture of him at the memorial for Jamal Khashoggi, the Washington Post journalist who was, I think, killed by Saudis in the Turkish embassy. And then, of course, the latest, and it's wild, is that apparently Bezos, we were wondering where, remember the National Enquirer tried to blackmail Bezos, said we have pictures of you and we'll publish them unless you lay off the president, or I can't remember what the quid pro quo was. Not that ever happens. But Bezos, of course, then went to Medium and said, well, okay, fine, let's get on with it. The question was, where did those pictures and the texts about him and Lauren Sanchez, his girlfriend?
Or somebody presumed that his phone got stolen for a while.
And then for a while, everybody seemed to think it was Lauren Sanchez's estranged brother.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is the news story, and it's a shocker. Apparently, Bezos was in a WhatsApp conversation with MBS, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And at some point in the conversation, bin Salman sent him a file which hacked his phone within minutes. All of the data on his phone is exfiltrated, including, I presume, those pictures.
Yes.
So didn't his security officer actually talk about Saudi being the source of the hack around that time? And everyone made fun of him.
You're right.
And what's the thing I took away from all of this, including the tweeting of the picture, Jeff has turned into a master, social media user, just excellent. Or his team is using this very well.
He's almost as good as New Jersey.
Well, that tweet, and let me go back to from the Axios story of this tweet. It has just one word, #Jamal. It is very somber. It's a beautiful tweet. And talk about subtweeting. That's all you have to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
One word, #Jamal. And wow, the UN is now calling for an investigation. That lends it some credence.
And MBS met with a lot of people. He met with Bush. He met with Mark Zuckerberg. He met with lots of people.
Well, he's invested
And
lots of money. The Saudi
money, yeah.
sovereign fund is primary. It's like one of the primary venture capitalists in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so I imagine everybody's looking at their WhatsApp chats and replacing their phone.
Well, and it's like
That's my
everybody's
hunch.
also pretending they don't know MBS. And it's like Jeffrey Epstein. All of a sudden, I don't know, who's that? Never heard of him.
Never hung out with that dude.
Never hung out with that dude. What plane?
What island?
It's just. I just want everybody to know I did not take any money from Saudi Arabia. Okay. I'd take it if they
Noted.
sent it to me.
Well, I have somebody I know in a business who
Lots of
not
businesses.
that long ago took money from a Saudi sovereign fund.
I think that's okay 5 years ago. I think if you did it today, it would be like, come on, guy. And you can't send that money back. You spent it.
Right.
The UN report details a forensic investigation into long-standing allegations by Bezos that he was a victim of a cyber attack by the Saudi regime as part of a complex series of conflicts among Bezos, the Saudis, President Trump, and the National Enquirer. It is one of those. It is what has become a politics in Washington under Trump. It's a transaction. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And by the way, MBS doesn't need the money, but he was doing favors.
So one lesson here is never give your actual phone number to somebody who has a government intelligence agency behind them. Number two, people are talking about the encryption of WhatsApp. That's utterly irrelevant here, right? He sent an MP4 file supposedly. It didn't matter how it got sent. Once you open it, your
WhatsApp
right?
is encrypted in transit, but it's not encrypted on your phone. So if your phone is hacked, it's all there. And incidentally, if you back up WhatsApp with on an iPhone with iCloud, it's also in the cloud. We should really emphasize, I keep saying it, but I just want everybody to know, iCloud is not encrypted. Apple has the keys to it, and in this Pensacola case, in the San Bernardino case, the FBI screwed it up. But in the Pensacola case, Apple sent a lot of iCloud data to the FBI. We talked about this on Tuesday with Renee Ritchie. The impression most people have is that your iPhone is encrypted and your data on the cloud is encrypted. Your iPhone is encrypted, but if you back up your iPhone to the cloud, which everybody does, that's not encrypted.
But not the case with Android, yes?
If you back it up to Google, well, okay, yes, let's talk about that story because it's a little unclear. I would not assume that anything.
I want to hear you explain it to me.
Yeah, Android. So
explain this.
So Google offers end-to-end encryption for Android backups. Apple. So there was a story that Apple wanted to do end-to-end encryption on its backups, and the FBI said, "Please don't." There's some lack of credibility, by the way, in that story. It's probable that the 6 sources that Reuters quoted in this story, at least 5 of the 6 were FBI employees. One of them was a former Apple employee. Renee Ritchie said, I remember those times. So did John Gruber. Apple made the decision not at the behest of the FBI, but just because if you did offer encrypted backup and people lost their password, you wouldn't be able to help them. And so while Google has decided, okay, well, we just tell people, hey, you lose your key, you lose your password, you're out of luck. Apple was unwilling to do that. So apparently Google does do that. Apple did not switch. I still would not assume. I would not assume that anything that you're exfiltrating or backing up to the cloud is private. If just in case you want to know. Apple's rules are very arcane, and Apple really kind of, I think, fosters a misimpression that they encrypt everything. According to Android Central, back in 2018, Google quietly enabled end-to-end encryption for Android backups with a tightened security chip housed in Google's data center, ensuring data integrity. This is starting with Android Pie. I'm not sure what you have to do to make sure. Your PIN or passcode is a decryption key for the Titan module. Without it, you won't be able to access your data. But it only works for, this is important, and this is the problem I have with Apple too. It's not immediately clear what's encrypted and what's not. The backup, Google backup, is only for application backups, so your WhatsApp would be secure, but not anything you store in Google Drive. That, as always, is unencrypted, is available to law enforcement. If you want to secure data in your Drive, you need to encrypt it before you send it up to Google Drive. So that's why it's confusing, right? And Apple does offer, by the way, fully encrypted backups. You just have to do it to hardware. You have to connect your iPhone via cable to a Mac or a PC with iTunes and say, I want an encrypted backup, provide a password. That is fully encrypted. Apple doesn't have access to that. But if you use iCloud to back up WhatsApp, and we know this because Paul Manafort got bit by it, Apple has unencrypted versions of the WhatsApp messages. So WhatsApp is not as secure as one might imagine. Use Signal and turn off iCloud backup.
And don't
I was going to say,
ever
and
click on a link from a Saudi prince.
And especially if you're talking to MBS.
I would throw in, a Russian oligarch.
Yeah,
maybe.
there are lots of people.
Chinese, Turkish, Hungarian.
Perhaps U.S., depending on your political orientation.
Yeah, could happen.
I'm in a WhatsApp right now with President Trump. Should I get out of it?
No. I'm in one with Don Jr.
The funny thing is, OPSEC with anybody in the White House, there is no OPSEC.
There's no OPSEC.
There's no OPSEC. They don't care. Maybe they should. Maybe they shouldn't. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they're untouchable.
Y'all are depressing the heck out of me.
Did you stay up till like 1 a.m. last night?
No.
It was a little boring. I tried.
A little boring.
Schiff is very good at presenting. His talk today was very well done. But what can engage you for 12 hours?
I've watched Billions for 12 hours.
Yeah, right. I think I want to say that's kind of intentional because I think there are a lot of people who would prefer that you do not watch.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't think that many people are watching.
But the Senate controls where the cameras are, how they're pointed. I think they're intentionally pointing them they're making it as dull. I know a little bit about this. You want to get some shots of the chamber, of senators sleeping.
They're all walking around sleeping, yeah.
You don't just lock the one camera down on the person reading and just leave it there. This isn't C-SPAN for crying out loud. Oh, it is. Supreme Court has declined to hear a Facebook face recognition case.
Is this the Illinois one?
Yeah.
Or the Indiana one? Is it Illinois?
It's Illinois. It's Facebook versus Patel. It hinges on the question over whether Facebook violated Illinois law when it implemented a photo tagging feature that recognized users' faces, I'm reading from The Hill, and suggested their names without getting adequate consent from the user. So this High Court rejected Facebook's bid to review the case. So Facebook will now be facing a multi-billion-dollar class action lawsuit in Illinois. In other words, the Supreme Court, by declining to review it, did let it go forward. So that's bad for Facebook, I guess.
Right. They'll either have to settle or
right.
Well, it's a state case.
It's an attorney general, right?
Right.
The Ninth Circuit Court ruled last year that Facebook had to face the lawsuit. Facebook appealed, and the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to overturn that.
But this is a state law, I mean to say.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing what reasons the Supreme Court passed on this. Facebook said the class action case should not be allowed to proceed because the group of users have not proven the alleged privacy violation resulted in real-world harm. There's a doctrine. There has to be some harm or you can't sue. You can't sue just because you don't like it. There has to be some harm. The Supreme Court rejected that argument. But
now harm is going to. It's like the UK harms report. It's going to become feelings, nothing more than feelings.
Well, it is a privacy intrusion. I don't know. This is why I just prefer to stay off Facebook. I understand I know that's podcaster privilege. I understand.
I think we just need to have carts that Kevin can play. Yours says, I quit Facebook. Mine says, moral panic. Stacey says, oh, Jeff.
And then punches me.
Wait, don't I get something
Yeah, what do you want?
decent, like other than oh, Jeff? Don't I get
pick
let's start
something.
at
No,
the beginning?
you have your others which you star. You see.
What about
You
this?
read
This
in
is a
others.
story from the San Francisco Chronicle. Let me see if I can summarize this case. The FBI in August of 2018 raided Omar Amin's Sacramento apartment, alleging that he was in fact an ISIL member and had hid his ties to the group when he fled Iraq and came to America. They want to deport him. In fact, he could now become the first person in U.S. history ever to be extradited to Iraq. However, his attorneys say that there is evidence in his social media that he was 600 miles away from the murder that he's accused of in Iraq. Additionally, an Islamic State Twitter account that the company suspended, as well as a suspended Facebook account, could be instrumental in proving his innocence. Neither Facebook nor Twitter will cooperate. A San Francisco Superior Court judge last year issued a scathing critique of those companies' policies, finding Twitter and Facebook in, quote, inexcusable contempt for refusing his order to release evidence in a murder case. Judge Charles Crompton wrote, Facebook and Twitter appear to be misusing their immense resources to manipulate the judicial system in a manner that deprives two indigent young men facing life sentences of their constitutional right to defend themselves at trial. But Facebook and Twitter have made it clear they're unwilling to alter their behavior regardless of the, get the red ready for this, harm to others or the rulings of this court. Interesting, huh?
What is their logic behind not? Is it that they don't have the means to do it?
They're citing the Stored, get ready for this, the Stored Communications Act, the 30-year-old privacy law that didn't even know about digital.
3 decade, right, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry,
To withhold information. Apparently, this is not at all unusual. They frequently do this. San Francisco Chronicle writes that social networks routinely use their vast legal resources to fight defense subpoenas, which, by the way, we encourage them to do, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
This is
Right.
the default because you don't want to. Yeah. I'm just curious what the rationale is.
And
because
yet,
I'm
they
sure
could
there
get
is
this
one.
guy. I mean, if somebody's wrongfully accused of a crime and you have information that exonerates them, it seems ethically problematic that you wouldn't release
Which is
that
a precedent.
information.
Benedict Evans, who I think is brilliant analyst, talked this week about how people cheered the LinkedIn decision that says you can scrape. Well, now it means you can also scrape everybody's photos, which led to the New York Times story now.
Right.
You know, there's unintended consequences.
It's
of things.
so
We think
complicated.
something's wonderful on one end, and then on the other end, we say, oh.
So complicated.
Things that make you say, "Ooh."
By the way, I really love this, and I recommend everybody read
That
it.
can be your sound.
We're a big fan of Bruce Schneier. He is one of the premier security researchers in the country, a fellow at Harvard Kennedy School. He said, you're missing the point by merely banning face recognition. Face recognitions are a small part of these overall technological capabilities to identify you from afar. He said people can be identified by their heartbeat, by their gait. Cameras are so good they can read fingerprints and iris patterns from meters away. We can be identified because our smartphones broadcast MAC addresses.
Mm-hmm.
Other things identify us as well, our phone numbers, our credit card numbers, the license plates on our cars. China uses multiple identification technologies to support its surveillance state. He says there's an entire industry of data brokers who make living analyzing and augmenting data about who we are using surveillance data collected by all sorts of companies, then sold without our knowledge or consent. Face recognition, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today, facial recognition technologies are receiving the brunt of the tech backlash. Focusing on them misses the point Bruce Schneier writes, we need to have a serious conversation about all the technologies of identification, correlation, and discrimination. That's what you want to talk about, I'm sure, Stacey. And decide how much we as a society want to be spied on by governments and corporations and what sorts of influence we want them to have over our lives. Go ahead, Stacey.
No, and I was going to say, so in some ways I get frustrated when people are like, ignore this, it's a bigger problem. I'm like, yes, I get it, and I do it too.
But it's still a problem.
But it's still a problem. Yeah. It's also, people tend to look at what's the populace, as we are, the mainstream world. We look at what's bothering us now and what we understand and what we know is widely deployed. I would argue gait recognition is actually used apparently by the CIA, but the laser understanding is still a DARPA research project, so I'm less worried about that. But the discrimination issue is a real problem, and understanding how we apply these technologies is really important. Someone told me, and I think this is really accurate, when you have the ability of almost omniscience, the laws you choose to enforce and who you choose to enforce them against become incredibly important. And that's where we need to be dedicating a lot of our conversations and resources. Because right now, if I got robbed or mugged in the street, they might use all of the available technologies to find my assailant.
And you'd be happy.
And I'd be happy about it. I would. If a African-American woman who is poor or a prostitute gets assaulted in the streets, they probably wouldn't use their resources at all, right, even though they have them. And that becomes, in a lot of ways, it's not justice. It is, the disparity between who technology works for and doesn't is still something we have never addressed as a society.
I go back to, sorry about this, Mainz in 1462.
Oh, my goodness.
And the Archbishop's War. And the pamphlets for the two sides came off the same press. So that same argument where presumably Fust and Schiffer were arguing that their technology was neutral. But it also created a fight that might not have existed. Maybe it led to war. Maybe it delayed the war. There's no telling what happens without these things. Speculative.
Let's. I'm going to do one more story. That I want to take a break, and then we have a big changelog, so I want to make sure we have time for that, and then we'll wrap things up. The Intercept last year in Brazil published articles based on leaked cell phone messages that raised questions about the integrity and the motives of key members of Brazil's justice system, in particular, an anti-corruption organization. Glenn Greenwald has now, who writes for The Intercept and wrote these stories, has now been arrested and accused of being part of a criminal organization and cyber crimes. I have mixed feelings about Glenn Greenwald, but this sounds very much, Greenwald, who is, of course, an ardent opponent of Brazil's president, the authoritarian Bolsonaro, is now facing some serious jeopardy because of his work as a journalist. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I share with you. I think that and Snowden was also Greenwald's story, and Snowden came out and said, beware here. And I agree. One thing we haven't grappled with in our field is what if somebody did steal the data, not Glenn Greenwald, but somebody else? What is the issue of using it? And what journalists like Greenwald say is, it doesn't matter where the information came from. The public has a right to know the information once it's there, and once we know it, we have an obligation to share it. And that's been his pretty dogmatic view. And I think I have to, by default, presume Glenn Greenwald's side on this.
Well, partly because of the
government, and B, because he's a journalist.
Yeah.
And
the environment he's working in.
Yes, exactly.
He hasn't been detained. He says, I will continue to publish and cast the case against him as a test of Brazil's democracy. We will not be intimidated, Greenwald said, by these tyrannical attempts to silence journalists. prosecutors say they intercepted messages between Greenwald and the hackers, saying the journalist played a clear role in facilitating the commission of a crime. Incidentally, that's exactly what U.S. prosecutors are saying about WikiLeaks.
Julian Assange. Don't get old people. Julian
Assange. Is he in prison in the U.S. or he's just a warrant?
No, he's still awaiting extradition.
He's still in
I was about to say, is he in the U.S.? He's in the U.S. now?
No, he's in the UK still, but they're trying to extradite him. And that's the accusation, is not that he accepted these documents and published them, but that he encouraged.
Did he encourage
Chelsea Manning
to do it?
Yes. To do it. And there's similar to these intercepted messages, there's chat conversation. Very, very troubling. At the same time, I think that a journalist should not encourage criminal activities. I don't know. Is that, Jeff? You're the professor of journalism. What would you tell your students?
Not to encourage or take part in a criminal activity.
Yeah.
You don't break the law.
But wait a minute, though. Daniel Ellsberg broke the law when he sent the Pentagon papers.
Daniel Ellsberg wasn't the journalist. Daniel Ellsberg was the whistleblower who then came to the journalist.
So Daniel Ellsberg was the criminal.
Journalist, knowing that it was stolen, still said, "This is a public interest. Now that you have it, yes, we're going to publish it." That's been the way of journalism since then and before.
So you're not. So it's a fine line, but you're not allowed to say, "Go steal." Daniel Ellsberg go to steal those Pentagon papers, Xerox them, and send them to us. But you can accept them if Ellsberg on his own does that and sends them to you in an unmarked package, and you open it up and say, "Oh my God!"
Or even if he comes into your office and says, "I just stole this," and you can have it.
Even then.
Yes, I mean that's what Snowden did.
So in our terms,
but if you're buying stolen iPhones,
well, that's the question. So Brian Lamb, Gizmodo, iPhone is left on a bar. Somebody finds it, calls him up, says, "Hey, it looks like this is the new iPhone. You want to buy it?" That's breaking the law.
Depends. In that case, did Lamb know?
He didn't think it was stolen. He thought it was found.
It wasn't stolen. It was unauthorized, but it wasn't stolen.
Yeah, so that's not that's not breaking the law, or is it?
I don't think that was this much breaking the law. That was what Apple sent their own police after. Literally,
although you could argue that paying for it. I mean, is that wrong of the journalist? I mean, in the U.S. at least, we don't pay for.
You wouldn't
content.
do that.
No, I wouldn't. But
no,
I don't know.
Nor would I.
I have a stolen Sonos.
I honestly, from time to time, I'm offered leaked photos of phones and things. I honestly do not accept those. I say, don't send me that. I don't want to know about it. Partly because I'm not in any race to get.
You don't traffic in scoops.
Yeah, I'm not in a race to get scoops. And I don't think anybody should be. Because that's where bad stuff can happen. I think
true scoops, not just like I found out about a product, 2 days before, but a true scoop is worth it. If you can find out something that someone doesn't want you to know, that is, again, in the public interest, not just prurient, I can never say that word.
You said it perfectly.
I think that's important, and you should be focused on bringing those to your readers. But
yeah, I mean, if you get papers that say Vietnam was a farce
even something as simple as, hey, I'm talking to developers off the record, and they're saying to me, Apple is telling us we can't work with this company anymore. That's of interest to anybody who's working in that community, or so those are scoops.
See, and part of the reason I don't want the leaked photos or leaks of any kind, and I can't remember if it was Evan Blass, one of the guys who routinely publishes these, kind of sounded like he was having a mini crisis of conscience on Twitter. He said, I just found out from a guy who leaked me some phones that he was fired as a result. He's unemployed. His family is, destitute. I feel a little guilty. And then I don't know if it's Ev Leaks or who, but anyway, he continued doing what he was doing. I don't want to be responsible for that, but maybe I'm in the position where I don't have to be.
It's also,
I feel a bit of sadness when someone says something they absolutely should not have said to me that I'm going to report? I do.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't want.
It's also, Stacey's right. The test is public interest.
The test is public interest.
Is
Yes.
seeing a phone 2 days early public interest? No.
Yes, that's right. No. However, if you find out something scandalous, or
I just read today. There's a story. The Grammys organization.
Oh my God, that is such a cluster. And
what? Whoa, tell me, dude.
Ever.
What happened?
The head of it was put on administrative leave with allegations of some kind of improper conduct to an employee.
Okay.
She, before this, had sent HR a scathing memo saying there's huge problems here, sexism and stuff. And I was being personally harassed by a board member, she said.
And voting irregularities.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
This wasn't just this. And then, to me, I will say it looks like the Grammy, they went by the same old school playbook of shutting down a woman by saying she was a bitchy boss to a particular employee. And when her complaint looks pretty strong, it's really, but it is a two-sided thing.
Timing-wise, it's kind of a problem, too, because aren't the Grammys this weekend?
Yes, it's right beforehand.
Yes.
Whoops.
So it's an example of something that are the Grammys public interest? On one hand, no, they're just the Grammys are a stupid award. But on the other hand, they say a lot about the culture, and they indicate misogyny and racism.
Yeah.
Well, there was no law breaking here. That's just her EEOC complaint, which is public. So this is
according
not
to the complaint,
related
board
to this
members, including those who represent or have relationships with nominated artists, sit on the secret nominating committees. Indeed, it is not unusual for artists to have relationships with board members and who ranked at the bottom of the initial 20 artist list to end up receiving nominations. That's the irregularities you were talking about. You're right. Who cares who wins a Grammy? Except, well, I guess the record companies do. But if you go on TV and say, here in a secret ballot, our members all agreed this is the person who should win, and it's not the case, then I think, if there's irregularities, that's in the public interest. And you're right. Nobody had to break a law to exfiltrate that information.
No.
Okay, I think you've given me a good moral framework for my future work as a pretend journalist on this show.
You can't go with the don't be a dick kind of perspective.
No, you can't.
Because sometimes you need to.
Yeah.
But you can be don't be evil if evil considers looking out for, you could argue the mores of your audience, or you could argue general moral ethics.
I just don't want to be a dick.
I'll give you another example that I use all the time with our social journalism students, because we push the line of advocacy in social journalism. You observe and listen to a community, you understand this community, and you empathize with this community, you reflect the community. Then how far does that go? So I think I can say his name. It was a public event, yeah. So Zach Seward, who's now the CEO of Quartz, who's a wonderful journalist. When he was at the Wall Street Journal, he was doing a story about a Ponzi scheme. And he realized at some point in doing the story that as soon as he wrote in the Wall Street Journal that this was a Ponzi scheme, all the people he'd been talking to were going to lose all their money.
Hey.
Right? And so
that's a tough
I talk about this with the students to say, if you think you serve just that community, then what do? You don't tell the world.
Right.
But you serve a higher goal. You serve a higher truth. You serve the next person. You serve a greater goal. And so you do reveal. And yes, people get hurt along the way. And they maybe helped you hurt themselves. But you had a North Star.
Yeah. But it's not easy. And sometimes it's horrifying. And that's why it's nice to have editors and people in your newsroom that you
let them blame them.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, boss.
I hate editors. I hate it. That's why I love blogging.
I love editors.
You never had to do the newspaper call the family of the flight attendant after the plane crash kind of thing?
Oh, no. I've always been a business.
I had to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I did do an internship on the cop shop beat at 2 a.m, but that was just listening to the police radio and writing up blurbs for the most part.
Hey, there's one other smart home story. I'll go and then honest, we're going to take a break and come back with the changelog. Charter is shutting down.
Oh, that's what we talked about.
Oh, you already mentioned this? I
mentioned that in the breaking section.
Yeah.
But it was a aside.
Yeah.
Just so you know, ours actually has an excellent article, and it is theoretically possible on some of the equipment that you will be able to use a Zigbee or Z-Wave capable hub to work with things like your thermostat and maybe your lights, a few other things like that.
So there's people who bought hundreds and hundreds of dollars of home security stuff from Spectrum, and they've announced, I guess Charter inherited it, and they've decided they're going to shut it down. And according to Charter, maybe you can repair RE-PAIR, pair once again some of these to another hub. But Charter's saying most of these things are they're not going to work anymore. And it's very much like the Sonos situation. Excellent Ars article, highly recommended. And this is.
Can I mention a related story just because bad cable companies?
Yeah.
So Frontier is evidently headed toward bankruptcy imminently.
Yeah.
How can you go bankrupt when you're a monopoly ISP and cable company? I really honestly don't understand that.
Debt. In one word, debt.
Debt. Okay.
And this is a big problem in this country in general. By the way, iHeartMedia, love the company, love working for them. I hope to continue to work for them. But like many of these giant radio conglomerates, they had huge debt in order to acquire all these stations. And in fact, Charter basically was faced with bankruptcy, was able to renegotiate and really, lower their debt. And so they survived. They had great cash flow. They just had insurmountable debt. You can at some point owe so many billions of dollars that you can't keep up with the interest payments, even if you're cash flowing and a profitable business. And that's essentially the position they were in. Frontier Communications, which took over, it's funny because when this happened in LA, they took over cable. I think they took over Spectrum cable service for a lot of people, became the incumbent phone company and the ISP in much of LA. People were furious. Service went down, quality went down. People hated Frontier. They were very upset. Now they say, well, yeah, we have a lot of debt, and so we're looking at Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Couldn't happen to a nicer company. I just feel bad for all of the customers. 29
states. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. $356 million in debt, which comes due in 2 months. That's the problem. iHeart had the similar problem. They were able to negotiate with creditors, and
which is what's happening with every newspaper company.
Yeah,
McClatchy is sadly probably soon to go bankrupt.
Yeah,
this is why people hate private equity firms.
Yeah, and they do what they do. I was an advisor to what was then called Digital First Media under a brilliant CEO, and he always warned us. He said the hedgies will do what the hedgies do. They're built to do one thing, and we got to beat the clock to them. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they do. Well, on that cheery note, I feel like some trumpets.
Not yet.
Oh, sorry.
We must advertise. We must advertise first.
But meanwhile, I'm just weeping reading the story about cereal being bought by the New York Times.
Oh.
I put that. See, speaking of cruel journalistic acts, that was mine.
There you go.
Yeah, I put that up there. I wanted to see you cry and
it's okay.
Get some good color for the story.
You know what? It's fine. What are you going to do, right? Good for them. I'm happy for Sarah. I'm happy for all the people who are making a lot of money. This happens all the time in tech in general, right? I don't tell anybody. I call it dumb money. I mean, when you look at somebody like Mark Cuban, who got $1 billion for broadcast.com from Yahoo.
That was instantly shut down.
Instantly shut down. Complete waste of money for Yahoo. He thinks he's the smartest guy ever because he tricked a company into spending $1 billion for his company.
Yeah.
I call that dumb money. And boy, I'd love some, but it's fine. It's life.
If you had taken investment.
Oh, I could have done everything so differently.
But investment's tough.
No, I didn't want investment for that reason. I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. We are super happy. We love where we are and what's going on.
But if anyone has like 100 million, maybe 150 million and wants to buy Leo, you just go right ahead.
I'm thinking 100.
You could talk him into it. You could convince him. Yeah, just try.
Try. The tough thing would be working for somebody because usually you get locked in for
Well, you'd have to be. Well, especially this company because you're at the core of it.
I'm sure Bill Simmons would get locked
You're
in
the
by
chief twit.
Spotify, whatever. Yeah, that's all right. We're very happy. We're doing fine. Thanks to people like Mint Mobile. I actually think this is an amazing thing. Sometimes the big companies are not the best companies. When it comes to cell phone service, wouldn't it be nice to get the same services a T-Mobile customer gets because you're using T-Mobile's towers, but for a lot less? Enter Ryan Reynolds' company, Mint Mobile. Yes, it's owned by Deadpool. I know, which is the craziest thing ever. But I just love this. Mint Mobile saves money because they don't have retail stores. They don't have to mark it up. They don't have hidden fees. What they do is they're an MVNO for T-Mobile. And get ready. You get the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at an amazingly low cost. They're saving on retail locations, they're saving on overhead, and they're passing those savings on to you. Right now, you could cut your wireless bill. What do you just, put this in perspective, think how much you pay a month for wireless. Mint Mobile. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, 3 gigs of data, which for most people is plenty. LTE, high-speed data, $15 a month. When I went there and I saw this is for their 3-month introductory plan. When I went there and saw this, I said, wait a minute. Okay, that's a good deal, but if I buy, so I want more data. I want 12 gigabytes. If I pay ahead for a year, it's $25 a month, unlimited text, unlimited phone calls, 12 gigabytes of data, more than I would ever use a month. $25. There is nobody even close. This is amazing. You got to go to mintmobile.com/twig. Give it a try. Choose between 3, 8, and 12 gigabyte plans, 4G LTE data. You can bring your own phone. They have a little IMEI checker on the site to see if your phone's compatible. They also sell you phones. Ditch your old wireless bill. Save so much money. When I look at all the money I spend on cell phones, it's like, I'll move them all to Mint. Mint Mobile, they'll send you the SIM. They don't even charge you for the SIM. Other companies will charge you for the SIM, not Mint Mobile. And you put in your phone, suddenly $15 a month for their 3-month introductory plan. Mintmobile.com/twig. Mintmobile.com/twig. Thank you, Mint Mobile, for believing in This Week in Google. And thank you, Twig listeners, for using that special URL, because that way, that's how they know. I'm not tracking you. I don't know that you went there, but if you go there, they'll know. Mintmobile.com/twig. By the way, we do every year an annual survey of our audience. I want Twig listeners to get in on this. We want to get to know you better. Because we don't track you, we don't do what a lot of these other companies do to try to figure out who you are. The survey is the only way we could do that.
It really helps people do it. It helps the company.
It helps us sell.
The right thing to do.
Mint Mobile will say, well, how many men listen? How many women listen? So this.
How smart are they?
How smart are they? So this way, it's completely voluntary. You don't have to answer any questions. You could skip questions. You don't have to do it at all if you don't want to. We don't collect personal information. This is just in aggregate. It also helps us with programming, so we understand what shows you like and that kind of thing. twit.to/survey20. It's our annual survey for 2020, the Twit 2020 audience survey. twit.to/survey20. If you don't get the big Spotify money or the big New York Times money, you got to do it this way.
You got to do it the hard way.
Spotify says we're going to track people. They say it. We're going to have exclusive podcasts, and we're going to offer advertisers all the information we know from people who use our app, because they know exactly how much you listen to, when you stop listening, all that stuff, who you are, what demographic, where you are, all of that stuff they want to give to advertisers. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. All right, now play the trumpets. It's time for the Google Changelog.
The Google Changelog.
This is a big changelog. Get ready. I'm going to run right through this. If you are a Verizon Fios subscriber, get ready for your free $130 value Stadia gaming kit. You'll be about the only people who can actually play Stadia because you have fiber. You'll get the Chromecast Ultra, the Stadia. I think this is a good promotion. So when you sign up for a gigabit plan, you'll get the Stadia Premier Edition in a 3-month, not a year, but a 3-month Stadia Pro subscription starting January 29th. I would get fiber so fast if I could, but I can't. Google's Pixelbook Go is finally available in pink.
I'm waiting for Fiesta Red, man.
Oh, red's nice. You know, you should look at that Samsung Chromebook.
Well, not the Samsung. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be Fiesta Red.
That's a beauty.
Did you see it at the show?
I did.
What'd you think?
It's beautiful. Did
you type it?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Samsung Chromebooks. I owned the Plus, and I didn't get the Pro, but I like the Plus. In fact, I bought 2 Pluses. My daughter still uses her Plus. Those are great Chromebooks. They make very good ones. Now, it's not going to be inexpensive, but neither is this Pixelbook Go. $849 if you want pink. Took them 3 months. I don't know. $849 for an M3. Oh, no, I'm sorry. i5 is $849. They don't have the M3 for pink. That's why.
I was like, ugh.
Yeah. It's really, I don't know. Google gets away with it, I guess. Google Classroom is another tool that Google offers. Very popular in education that goes with those Chromebooks. Google is, I don't even know what this means, so I'm just going to say it. Google is launching a new rubric and originality report tools for all G Suite for education customers. There, I said it. I like saying the word rubric.
Oh, that's nice. A lot of classrooms, I assume that's rubrics that you can share with your students so they know how to define what they're... Yeah, that's great.
Rubrics are what teachers use to kind of define the assignment clearly, right?
It's really helpful because they say, hey, we're going to grade you on clarity. Do you do this, this, and this? And then they'll... My daughter... I'm jealous that I did not have rubrics when I was being taught.
It makes it much easier to do an assignment. So Google offers rubrics. Actually, this was in beta. That's now exiting beta. When starting an assignment, rubrics can be easily created by teachers and made available to students. They can be reused as well as exported and imported. The rubric will then appear for the teacher during grading so that they too know what is expected. And they're also expanding a test that allows classroom to sync grades with school information systems, Capita Sims, Infinite Campus, and Skyward SMS 2.0 right now, and more coming. I'm not an educator, so all of this is Greek to me. Actually, I know Greek. It's not even Greek to me. Google Podcasts. It's not even Greek. Google Podcasts lets you share time-stamped podcast episodes. You know, that's a nice feature because then you can say, hey, listen to this
Listen to this person say something crazy at this point.
Yeah. You could do that with YouTube.
Moral Panic! Listen for that.
Yeah. You can actually tweet with a link that jumps right to Moral Panic. Or Mainz. Right. Listen, you won't believe what Jeff said about Mainz. So there's now in the Google podcast, there always was share episode. There's now share from current time. That's exactly like YouTube. That's nice. It embeds the current time in the URL. Google. How can I do a show called This Week in Google and not be able to pronounce the word Google? Google Duo on the web no longer requires a phone number. Hallelujah.
I didn't know it did.
Yeah. Well, I think it was tied to your phone, right?
I don't.
I always use it on
Ask me
my
about
phone.
Google calling, messaging, Hangouts, messages, whatever.
It's so complicated. It's crazy. Google is now, remember we were mentioning this Chromebook 8-year timeline. Now they've set a final timeline for killing and replacing Chrome apps.
I had an immediate reaction to that, like, oh no! And then I thought, I haven't used a Chrome app.
Right.
Forever.
It was a kind of kooky idea. You know, Chrome first had extensions, and then they said, and I never really understood the distinction, but now this is an app, which means it kind of lives by itself as standalone thing. It's not an extension. Citing substantial progress since apps were introduced in 2013, Google believes modern browsers put the web in a good position to answer the vast majority of use cases. In other words, you don't need a packaged app anymore. In Google Earth, for instance, Figma, and PWAs are still around. This does not, in fact, PWAs are the future, I think.
Yes. Progressive web apps.
Yeah. So that's apps written with the same technologies as the Google apps, HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, but they look like standalone apps. They have service workers, which means they operate offline. There's a lot of benefits to program progressive web apps. And the best is that it's cross-platform. It helps Google, but also works on Apple, works on, desktops, works everywhere. We were talking about this on MacBreak Weekly yesterday because Apple is going to be facing this U.S. Supreme Court over monopsony, the monopsony of the App Store, and I think this is their best argument against it. Well, you could still get a PWA to run from anybody. That's what they told Playboy. And Playboy said, Apple won't let us have a nudie calendar app on the iPhone. It's too adult. And Apple said, well, you can still do a web thing. Do a web app. I imagine those will get better and better on iOS as an alternative. What else is going on? This was the best story. Are you going to go and get a special envelope for your phone?
No.
What? Come on. So
actually, I will. Oh, go on. Tell them what's. I was going to give you my tip.
This is Google. Oh, was going to be your tip?
No, this is not my tip. Nope, that's not my tip.
I'm just going to carry a microwave around with me and put it in there.
Google releases 3 new experimental apps to help cut down on your phone usage. This is part of their digital well-being initiative. Number 1, Envelope. It only currently works with the 3A. There's a reason. It's not just any old envelope. You can still dial. So to get started, you print out a special PDF provided by the app, fold it into the shape of an envelope, seal your phone inside, and then use it through the paper, only having access to 2 things, the dialer and the camera.
So stupid.
And then it will tell you, you've used the envelope for 8 hours today. Place your phone in the envelope and seal it. You can lock and unlock your phone using the fingerprint. That's kind of cool. I don't know. What do you think?
No, it's not.
Does the PDF have a hole for your camera?
It must.
That's really complicated cutting.
Oh yeah,
I failed scissors when I was a kid.
Yeah. It's going to look pretty bad. I mean, it looks good in the picture.
Well, yeah.
It's going to look pretty bad when you do it.
Right. Okay, so my thing is, you know how you guys told me that I could turn on Do Not Disturb mode if I flip my phone like on the ground?
Face down, yeah.
God, I love that. I'm never on my phone unless I want to be, and it's just amazing. And all these annoying people who try to call me, I don't have to hear from them.
Can't do it. I'm face down right now.
Because that's my default setting. And like when we go out to eat or something like that, if my phone is out, which it usually isn't, it's face down. Although then I can't listen to music.
I turn Do Not Disturb on all the time. I just have a thing that goes from from midnight to 11:59 p.m., and so I'm always in Do Not Disturb because I don't ever want to talk to anybody.
Well, that's true. And maybe that's being my daughter did tell me that I was just old.
Well,
I was like, I don't want to talk to people. She's like, it's because you're old, Mom, and cranky.
It's all relative.
Right. She's right on all counts.
To me, you're young. To her, you're old. It's all relative.
Oh, yeah.
You're just a kid
cranky.
to me. To Jeff and me, you're like our junior member.
I'm your junior queen of IoT.
Gonna hit me.
I think you're going to get punch him.
I'm like
somewhere in there is something to be punched about.
Just teasing you. Activity bubbles. There's 3 different things. Activity bubbles. This every time you unlock your phone, your wallpaper creates a bubble on the wallpaper, and then the longer on your phone, the bigger the bubble. And then when you lock it, the bubble stops growing. By the end of the day, if your phone is full of bubbles, you've been doing it too much.
You've been doing good things with your life, and you made your own damn choices, and you're an adult, and this device should not be telling you what to do.
I like this.
I do think this helps people who may not be aware of how much time they spend on their phone.
Yeah, or how often they unlock it.
Because a lot of people they're not even interested. They just do it totally. Like I sometimes watch my husband, like he wakes up, he picks up his phone, he looks at it, he like pushes some things. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like,
right?
I don't even know.
Activity Bubbles is already available in the App Store, as is the envelope. You can download. I'm going to download it right now on my Pixel 3 XL. What you talk about, Willis? How about a Pixel 4? Let's try that. It says new in Android 6. What are they talking about? All right, I'll do that later. Finally, I like this. screen stopwatch, a giant live wallpaper. I guess you can't use this and Bubbles, that displays your phone usage in real time, exactly how many hours, minutes, and seconds you've spent on your phone today. When your phone's locked, the counter stops. Every time you unlock it. And that's that.
Can't you go into your phone and just see how much time you've spent on it?
Yeah, it's in there. But now they're surfacing it, right? That's the idea.
I would actually like to. So I, like an idiot, thought that when my daughter went up to her room to read, I didn't realize she was stealing. What was she stealing? Like the iPad and just watching more Netflix. So she and I will watch a show, but she's always very good about not needing to watch. Like she's like, oh, binging is boring. I'm going to watch 1 or 2 episodes and then I go away. But then she goes upstairs and watches something else. Shocked I was.
Shocking dereliction. Which would you like? I think I like the Bubbles better than the timer, but you get your choice. All of these
get
digital...
off my lawn.
Jeff, you just you can't deal with it, can you? You just can't deal with it.
No, I do deal with it. I choose what to use. I don't want anybody being my nanny.
Well, I do.
Some people have a hard time.
Well,
yeah,
see,
some people want that.
But you don't. See, that's right. No.
I think some people are unaware of the time they spent on their phone, and if made aware of it, they might be like, "Holy crap! I'm spending 6 hours a day doing what?"
It could be your number, Jeff. Just think of that.
No.
I'm trying to.
No. It's not my number.
Stop.
Oh, are we done with the changelog?
We are done with the Google changelog.
I have to run downstairs to get my thing.
Go run downstairs. While you're running downstairs, I shall turn to Professor Jeff Jarvis for his thing of the week.
So I was in Best Buy today, hoping that soon I'll see the Fiesta Red Chromebook. And it's not there yet. No. But I did see that there were Lenovo Chromebooks selling normal price now for $139.
Wow.
And I thought,
Holy
wow.
cow.
Wow. And then I went back and I looked at remember the one laptop per child thing, the Nicholas Negroponte?
I have one in my office.
I do too.
Yeah.
Now defamed MIT Media Lab did. And how it was an unbelievable goal to get a laptop down to $100.
Yep.
And the market's pretty much about ready to be there, perfectly workable and connected to the whole world of information. And I just found that amazing, even a little bit inspiring. That's all.
I agree. That's a really good point. And I think in many ways it's probably more useful than the one laptop per child.
That I tried to work that device.
Everything was in Scratch and
it was cute looking.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing I'll add to the changelog. Thank you, Scooter X. I did know this, but I forgot. PlayStation is phasing out its over-the-top TV service called View. YouTube TV is leaping into the gap. It is now or will soon be available on the PlayStation 4. So if you're using PlayStation View, I think you only have a few weeks left. YouTube TV wants to be your alternative. Look, I put there's only one little bubble on the bottom. It's bigger. It's getting bigger. Next week, I'll show you my bubbles.
Oh, can I mention one more thing? We'll wait for Stacey. So my friend Samir Arora, I mentioned this, I think 2 weeks ago, has a new company called Sage, which is not public yet, but I wrote a post about it. It is an expert network. And he's starting with travel because the entities are very clear to work with. And they hand selected 100 experts with the sites that they had. Then those people then selected a total of 1,000. And then that was a learning set for the AI to take over. And now they have 5 million verifiable restaurants, hotels, and such, and the opinions about them. And I believe that he's on to something here, and that the next generation of the net that we need is one that brings in expertise and authority. And that means you got to figure out who's an expert and who's not, and who's full of S and who's not. But
you have to pay for this service?
No.
How does it monetize?
You're going to be able to, the service will, let's say you're an expert, because you're an expert in many things, Leo. It's free to you. You can have many business models with your fans. Advertising's not on it yet, may not be. But I could just be your fan. And you could send me to your website.
So
and that's
I
where you
would be
make the money.
curating content.
Exactly. Or you could do it on Sage, and you could charge me a monthly fee. You could charge me for a one-time product. You could charge me for an event, for a consulting thing, for a chat. It tries to have a wide panoply of business models.
I don't need no New York Times money. I could just do this.
Right. That's the idea. So Samir is very smart.
Is it available? I'm looking at this
No.
from the presentation. So there's a curated experts web. There's a
that's he's talking about. This has kind of been the progression of the web as a whole.
Oh, I see. This is the past.
This is the past.
Going
right?
from the bottom to the top. We're now at the
Right.
experts curated web.
Right. That's what he's building now, because that's
Nice.
what you always do when you make a PowerPoint is you put yourself on the top.
Yes, of course.
So it's not there yet. A little frustrating because you can't play with it yet. In fact, it's for iOS, and I live La Vida Google, so I couldn't fully play with it yet. But I spent a long time with him and his team to get the sense of it, and I think he's on to something very important here. So a little preview for the world. This hasn't been written about anywhere else yet.
Oh my God, it's a scoop.
Scoop!
It's a scoop of sort, but it's
Who's going to get
scoop.
fired because we've revealed this? I don't want to do it.
It's a friendly scoop.
Friendly scoop from Samir.
Those
And I have no
don't
business
exist. That's
relationship
just
with Samir.
marketing,
He
Jeff.
bought me a cup of coffee in a very nice place in Palo Alto. That was it.
What happened to Glam? That was his other company, right?
It imploded in investor politics and programmatic advertising.
It seemed like such a good idea.
It was a blog network. Well, Samir and I bonded. I make reference to the world's history's ugliest PowerPoint slide because he came in and I was talking about networks, and he came in and he talked about Glam, which was an open network of fashion blogs, versus iVillage, which was a closed media company owning it, and how much better the network is. And that's where he and I bonded because we believed in the network model, and I still do. I think we all do.
Who was
and
his
he built
partner?
that
It was a
with
former Obama guy.
Well, he also the problem was Burda, the German publisher, invested in it and got cold feet, but he also bought Ning from Andreessen.
Yeah,
and Andreessen was on the board, so it was an idea that you could build your own community. But Samir did NetObjects way back in the day.
Oh, okay.
So he's always been about building tools for creation.
Nice.
So he's a friend, and I'm impressed with where he's headed. And so take a look at that, folks.
Nice. Stacey, what's your thing this week?
Today's thing
Yes.
is
Oh, I know what that is. Is that
it's
from
the
Casper?
Glow.
It is. It's a glow. I recognize that.
I bought it a while back. Here, I'm going to do my camera down so you can see the glowing orb. Oh, okay. I'm going to have to move the glowing orb up. All right, so...
This is brighter because of her camera. It's not that bright. It's not blindingly bright.
Oh, it's not doing it. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. Sorry, I'm looking at it and I'm having a hard time. So when I turn it, it dims.
It's just on a charging stand, by the way. That
And
you can lift it off
This is
of
a
that.
charging.
Yeah.
And when I lift it off of it, I turn it off by flipping it over. I turn it on by flipping it over.
Stacey, you have such power. You have electric hands.
But this lasts for 6 hours. It's on a timer. So if I want to, and I can turn it off by, can I turn it? Oh no, that stops it when I tap it. But you can, it's just a fun little, it dims down over a set period of time. So right now I think it's set to 30 minutes where over 30 minutes, it gets softer.
I think it's
and
such a
softer.
brilliant idea. And we should mention Casper's a sponsor, of course. So.
Oh, they are still a sponsor. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We love Casper.
I didn't realize that. We mentioned them when they filed last week for their S1. But yes, so I just wanted to show this. It is $79? No, it's $129 for one or $229 for two.
Yeah.
I find that it is not awesome to read by.
No, it's not quite bright enough to read by.
It's all right, but it's not.
It'd be good
awesome
to browse a magazine by.
Yeah, if it's not the New Yorker or the Economist, I will say, which is what I read before bed.
What you need is 3 glows, and then you could read.
And you can sync. If you have multiple ones, you can sync them via Bluetooth. I got this as a Christmas present for my daughter, and she freaking
that's sweet.
loves it.
Oh, that's really
how does she use it?
She uses it actually. She finds her alarm too jarring in the morning.
Yeah, it's a great way to wake up.
Uses it as a wake up, and then she also uses it just around for fun. We also, when the power went out for 17 hours last week. We used it then. The only complaint I have is that it's got the charging cable. I would like this to be micro USB so I could charge it in other things, but that's a pretty small niggle.
Or Type-C, even better. Yeah.
Or Yeah, I don't care. Whichever.
I brought this home. I reviewed it, and I like you, gave it a positive. I love it. I think it's great. But my wife really didn't like the. She doesn't want any light in the bedroom at all. Period.
She doesn't want to see you.
I think that's actually it.
That is, yeah. I was
this is her dream date right now. All the lights are out.
Oh, did you? Oh, someone. Are you asking me to wiggle the light?
Wiggle it. What happens when you wiggle it?
It's supposed to go lower, but it's not going lower.
Yeah, because
I think it's when it's off.
It has to go to the
when
bathroom
it's off,
mode. Yeah.
And you wiggle it.
Then it's the don't step
now
on
it's
Lego
glowing,
mode.
but you really can't tell.
Yeah.
Oh, what if I turn off my light?
Wow, we're getting fancy with the production now. The camera just adjusts. Camera, you don't even need that light. The camera goes, oh, it's dark. I better turn myself up.
Sorry. Yeah, the camera's compensating.
Oh, shucks. I want to... we haven't had Kevin Marks on in ages to talk about the free and open web. We'll get him back on soon. But I want to give a plug to software. In fact, I interviewed the guy who invented this software many moons ago in triangulation, Ward Cunningham. I want to give a plug to Wiki software. The idea of Wiki, it comes from the Hawaiian Wiki buses, the fast buses that go around Honolulu. The idea is it's a fast and easy website to create and then very easy to edit. In fact, I call my wiki, it's our family wiki, the 4 a.m. wiki, because I got up at 4 in the morning. I didn't know what to do, so I made one. It's that easy to make. It's a very easy thing to do, and anybody can edit it. You don't have to be an expert in web technology. There's some basic markup. The syntax is fairly simple. And then you can, and they even have, this one is called DocuWiki, but there are thousands, well, maybe not that many, dozens of different wiki platforms, including the best-known wiki in the world, Wikipedia. We even have our own wiki, and I might as well mention that as long as we're talking wikis, that you can edit if you want, wiki.twit.tv. It's our official wiki, and it has wiki. I love wikis. It's an easy way to create content. You can open it to the public like Wikipedia. In our case, because we don't have a lot of editors, and Wikipedia does, we ask you to request access. So if you'd like to contribute, there's a form you can fill out, and Patrick Delahanty will just say, okay, fine. But, that way we keep spammers out and that kind of thing. But it's a really great, there's a This Week in Google page on it. It's very easy for people to edit it, add material, and so forth. And I really am a fan of wikis. So I just wanted to give a little plug. And in this case, the wiki was very easy to set up because I have a Synology NAS, and Synology has DocuWiki as part of its, one-click installs. It's very easy to make it. Now, this is not public. This is something that Lisa and I use because we're planning upcoming travel, and I put stuff in here that I want to keep track of. But it's a very easy way to have a web page. It could be public.
Oh, with Yale people. Oh, my.
Oh, that's going to be fun. Yeah, we're going on a river cruise. You would enjoy this.
I would. My wife would hate it.
We're starting in Budapest. We're going to Bratislava, Vienna, the Wachau Valley, Melk Abbey, where they're famous for their apricot liqueur. We get off in Passau. We go to Salzburg, where Mozart was born. Oberammergau, this is the thing that your wife might enjoy, which is every 10 years, the little medieval town of Oberammergau prayed during the 16th century that if you pass us over with the plague, we will dedicate in your honor every 10 years, every decade, a passion play. And they've been doing it ever since. The 2020 version is coming up this summer. 2,000 residents of the town all participate. And I imagine there's like a little fist fight to get to see who gets to be Jesus.
Who gets to be Jesus, yes. There's probably murderers over that.
Yeah. And then we're going to go to the famous Mad King Ludwig's castle, Neuschwanstein.
Do you get to go to Mainz?
We'll look for Mainz as we pass it on the river. And then we're ending up in Munich. We're not going that far. We're on the Danube, and then we're going to Munich. I've been to Mainz last time I was on the river cruise, and we're going to take we're taking our 17-year-old, and we're going to take him to Dachau, so he gets a little history. It's very hard. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. But you see, isn't this nice? And then he can go here, and he can find out what we're going to do. There's a little calendar on here, so he can see all the different things we're going to be doing day by day and stuff. I think wikis are really neat.
I don't think I've ever thought that much about wikis.
Well, now you have.
Oh, I love wikis.
Indeed.
This is my 4 a.m. wiki. Well, you use Wikipedia all the time. That's a wiki.
No, I know. And I go on wikis for various TV shows that I like. I mean, I just have not spent a lot of time thinking about wikis.
It's just so long ago, in the early days, in the early innocent, wonderful days of the internet, the Los Angeles Times decided that there's this new thing called wikis. Yeah. Let's do a wikitorial. It was an editorial on a wiki, and they chose as the topic the Iraq War.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, crowdsource this editorial. Lord. You know how quickly it went completely to the dogs because they didn't understand that a wiki was about consensus, not about fighting.
That's one of the most amazing things about Wikipedia is how well that works. And it's
so Jimmy Wales saw that at the time, and I blogged it, and Jimmy came in and said, "Oh yeah, you're right. This is completely." And he tried to get a hold of it, and he said, "Fork it. Have two sides present their best arguments. That's the way to use Wiki."
Yeah.
But they didn't.
And in fact, breaking news on Wikipedia is amazing. It's a great way to hear both sides. Yeah, it's just really well done. I say fork it all the time. In fact, I'm going to say fork it right now.
Do you watch Good Place?
Yes. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, yeah.
Because she can't swear because she's in the good place. Or not. I don't know where she is. But she can't swear. And so every time she tries to swear, it's kind of these funny family-friendly versions.
My daughter always walks in. She's like, "What's up, my benches?"
I wish that would spread. I love that. I
love it. That's great.
You know what? From now on, when I swear here, I'm going to say the things. I have to watch The Good Place first and make a.
Have you watched it?
I've watched a little bit. I like it.
You have to. You cannot pick it up in the middle. You have to go from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I've started at the beginning.
Sequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a Good Place glossary anywhere of all the Good Place swear words?
Some wiki has been made of that.
Here it is.
Here it is. Shirt,
believe it or not.
Bench.
Here it is.
Fork.
No, is this it or is this it? Censored curse words. This is on the Good Place wiki. Fork, shirt, bench, ash, cork, and deck. Which allows NBC to air the show at 8:30 p.m. Enough said. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the concluding moments of this fine television, radio, podcast program. If you are not yet a subscriber to Stacey Higginbotham's fantastic IoT newsletter, you must go immediately to staceyoniot.com and sign up. It's free. And then you must listen to the podcast she does every week with Kevin Toffel and learn all about IoT. Of course, Stacey, we were thrilled to be graced by her presence every week here on Twig. Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you for having me.
Love it. We also thank Mr. Jeff Jarvis.
You're also saddled with me, but I ain't
saddled with him. We try to get rid of him.
I'm sticking. You can't. I'm the last guy to leave the party.
Good. I count on that, Jeff. Director of the Townite Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
Oh, my goodness.
And we are honored by his presence each and every week.
Can we just get I feel like there should be like a T-shirt or something of Jeff's like hiding behind his lower third.
I know, that would be good.
Lower
Kilroy
half.
was here.
That would be good. We didn't get to his Leistungsrecht story.
There was a story. There was a legitimate story with the Leistungsrecht.
I know. Can we do it next week? Would that be okay?
Yeah, we can do it next week. Yeah, we'll do it next week.
The draft of their copyright reform proposes that memes should only be 128 pixels and video limited to 3 seconds. That's enough for a meme. That's enough.
That's shorter than a Vine.
I know. It's just goofy. It's just bad. It's just goofy. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you all for being here. We do This Week in Google each and every Wednesday, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, 21:30 UTC. You can watch or listen live at twit.tv/live. You can get on-demand versions at twit.tv/twig or YouTube. And you can always subscribe. In fact, do me a favor, dear listener, and subscribe. That way you'll have an episode on your phone every week. You won't even have to think about it. It'll be there. It'll appear. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google.